Okay, everyone, I think we're going to get started. We'll be having people come in as the day goes on, but we are at our start time. So hello, everyone, and welcome to Legaltech Hub's first ever Demo Dozen event. We're really excited to have you here today. We'll be doing these quarterly going forward. I'm Stephanie Wilkins. I'm the Director of Content here at Legaltech Hub, and I'll be your MC for the day. We're excited to have 12 amazing companies on deck to speak and present and give you demos of their products. But before we get started, I wanted to go over a few housekeeping notes for how the next 3 hours will run. As you probably heard, you can pop in and out of this as much as you want. If you have to go, take a phone call, you can always come back. We would love to have you here for the full time, but you are welcome as your calendar allows. If you have questions for our presenters as they are presenting, please use the Q&A function that you'll see at the top of your screen in that top bar. That's where the presenters will be looking for your questions, not in the general chat. If by chance the presenter doesn't get to your question during their presentation or during their allotted 15 minutes, we'll provide them with the questions after the event and put them in touch with the asker so they can answer you still. You can feel free to use the general chat function for all other comments, but it won't be looked at by the people presenting again. I just want to make that clear. We will use that chat function for the 2-minute warning for each presenter. I'll be putting that in there. So each person has 15 minutes and we like to give them a heads up. At 15 minutes, I'll turn my camera back on and encourage them to finish up so we all stay on time today. And if anyone watching wants to be put in touch with any of the solution providers they see today, please reach out to Chris at legaltechnologyhub.com and he'll facilitate that. We will put that email in the chat for you and we'll remind you again at the end of the day. And with that, we are exactly on time. And so we'll just let in the few people that are still in the waiting room right now, which you're all coming in, so we'll give it a minute. But our first presenter up will be, okay, yes, we have it moved over. Perfect. We're going to see Chamelio first, and we have Gil Banias joining us, and I will turn it over to him to present.
Hi, Stephanie. Thank you, and it's great to be here. Can you hear me well? Just give me the thumbs up. No, I can't see anyone, but I believe you can see me. Okay.
Yes, you're
so
good.
I'm Gil. I'm one of the co-founders here at Chamelio. We are building an AI platform for in-house legal teams in particular. And the idea behind Chamelio is that legal teams have a very valuable but unutilized asset, which is a lot of institutional knowledge, a lot of documents, a lot of contracts. And our platform allows them to activate that knowledge, index it, make it completely usable, and therefore making the platform work with it using our AI capabilities. I will go on and share my screen. Now, the platform has 3 modules, and again, it's all about indexing the knowledge and reusing it for future purposes. So the first module that I'm showing you now is called Chamelio Core, and this is mainly around storing and managing your data. So it starts with a smart repository that can automatically ingest and process and extract a lot of information out of each contract that is being uploaded. So each contract that will be uploaded to the platform will get fully indexed, will be summarized, will be classified by type. Key dates will be extracted. Linked documents will be automatically identified, meaning if I have a master contract and later on I sign an order from under it, we will link them together and identify the nature of the relationship. A lot of metadata that is extracted from each contract, from the party names, key dates, key provisions, everything becomes fully accessible, and this is completely customizable. So you can decide, you can select very easily what type of information you would like to extract out of your contracts, and the platform will do that. Obviously, there's a lot of AI going on in the background here. So across the platform, each AI-generated output will always come with a reasoning. So we could always validate any AI-generated content. We could just hover here to see the actual clause from the contract that was used to generate this output, or just click on it and it will pull up the document and take us to the relevant clause. So very easy to go directly to the source and identify anything you would like to identify out of our contracts. On a single document basis, we can always use our AI query just to query the document. What are our insurance requirements, for example, and it will provide as well the response and the reasoning, so we could go directly to the source and see the clause. So very easy to find what you need when you need it from your contracts. It even gets more advanced than that with the ability to start creating self-updating collections of documents. Meaning, if I would like to start tracking, for example, my MSAs, then I can just filter by my MSAs. I could add as many filters as I would like. I could add, for example, only MSAs with, let's say, an auto-renewal provision, or whatever filters I would like to apply. And then I can just save that as a collection, give it a name, and when I do that, this collection will now start updating itself automatically, meaning each new contract added to the platform that will be an MSA with an auto renewal provision will automatically be stored in this collection. So very easy to track and monitor what you would like to do out of our contracts. Moving on. Just a second. Okay, moving on. We can extract any piece of information we would like to extract out of our contracts. I can just go to any of my collections and create a new custom field. So let's say I have this collection of my customer contracts. I can just click custom column and add an additional column to the collection. For example, let's call it marketing. I then select what is the format of the output I would like to get. It could be a text summary, a clause extracted from the contract, a number, a date, a yes, no question over predefined list of options that we define. Let's go with yes or no. And then you just prompt what it is that you're looking for. Can we use the customer's logo for marketing purposes? Okay, for example, and then I create a new column that will be added to this collection. And we can just very easily see, for example, whether we could use or not use the customer logo for marketing purposes. In this case, it starts populating with the responses very easily. So we can get our entire contract base fully indexed and processed in real time. We have many integrations with tools such as DocuSign and Salesforce and Zip on the procurement side that allows you to just stream any newly signed contract into the platform and get it fully processed in real time. In addition to that, you can also start storing your templates. When you do that, the biggest benefit would be that your clause library would start getting generated automatically, which means that when it comes to this MSA, for example, each newly signed MSA that will be uploaded to the platform will get broken down on clause level, allowing me to see exactly what variations I have of each specific clause, what agreements include that, what are the changes between the version, and that allows me, first of all, to start tracking a very important metric, that is, how often do we use our template language versus fallback to other language? But more importantly, this clause library later becomes available in Microsoft Word when reviewing contracts, and that allows me to just reuse the language I already negotiated in the next agreement I'm reviewing and negotiating. So we have a template management, and we also have a document vault. Chamelio is not about simply contracts. So yes, it will definitely provide anything that any CLM out there will provide, but we go far beyond only contracts, and we allow you to store any type of document that is of interest to you, and you can start reusing them, whether it is storing your previous RFP responses and then having our agent just review the next questionnaire you get versus your past references, whether it is storing your litigation document and working with them. You can just store all your legal documents in the platform, get them fully processed and indexed, and start using the different agents with them. For example, if I go into the agent bar, then the biggest benefit of this would be that our entire database is available to us, whether it is our contracts or the collections that we created, or any policies that we uploaded, or any templates that we have, or any documents in the vault. I could just pull them in and have the agent work with them and do things such as search, compare, benchmark, analyze, summarize, anything that we are looking to do based on our documents, or just any legal research. One of the benefits that we provide is that, unlike working with any single large language models, we orchestrate all of them. We work with all leading publicly available large language models, and we receive your task, we break it down into subtasks, we route each of them into the model that will likely perform the best, and then we can just put the response together, making sure that you get consistent, high quality responses with no hallucinations. So the first module that we saw so far is how to get your documents fully extracted and indexed, making them completely searchable and actionable. The second module would be negotiations for pre-signature. First of all, we will help with generating playbooks. The way we do that is based on the negotiations you have done in the past. So you can just load your contracts in and your templates, and the platform will process them and will create these type of playbooks for you. And these playbooks will extract out of your signed contract what is your preferred position in each case. And it will tell you what agreements you clear that position from. It will also extract what fallbacks you agreed to and how often you agree to these fallbacks and in what contracts. So get full visibility into your preferred positions, into your acceptable alternative position, and all of this knowledge becomes available in Microsoft Word that I will show you in a second. The last module that I will show you before jumping into Microsoft Word, which ties everything together, is the workflow module that allows you to build different type of workflows, from pre-signature to post-signatures to non-contract related workflows whatsoever. The idea is to consolidate all of the legal work of the legal team into the platform, enhance it using AI, automate it using AI, and therefore making the work much more efficient, quicker, by really leveraging the capabilities of the technologies. We do that by integrating into multiple business applications that teams use on a day-to-day basis, whether it is Slack, Salesforce, Teams, Zip, and other, allowing the legal team to turn any of them into an intake channel to receive requests from the broader team. So you could very easily create different type of workflows where people submit information such as customer name and the contract that needs to be, for example, reviewed. And you can just start applying AI straight out of the box, putting an AI agent to take a first crack in reviewing the contract, then putting a human to negotiate and finalize the red lines, routing to any approvals, getting the documents signed thereafter, and then storing them in the repository. So anything from starting from requesting for a contract to be generated or reviewed, with everything that happens in between, all the way through signatures and stored in the repository. So the classic contract lifecycle workflows, including new type of workflows that were just not possible before, such as Q&A workflows. We can now deploy an agent into a Slack channel. On the back end, connect that agent to a specific set of documents you have stored in the repository. Could be your order forms, could be a specific type of contracts or internal policies, whatever it is, allowing people to go into that channel, ask a question, the agent will go back, find the right document, generate an answer, send it to you to approve, and respond back. So streamlining all of the day-to-day work that gets into the legal team, making the turnaround time much quicker, allowing the team to focus on high strategy issues versus the mundane tasks of responding to questions and things like that. Very quickly, I will show the final piece of the platform, which is the word editing. Just a second. Okay, so we have the word editing that allows you first and foremost to apply your playbook. So very quickly, you can just apply your playbooks and start getting recommendations on how to amend the agreement you need to review. You get direct visibility into your playbook to see exactly what instruction came into play and why it was amended the way it was. And you can very easily just apply any recommendation and have your documents reviewed based on your own playbooks. We have proofreading capabilities that allows you just to clean up the document, identify things such as terms used without proper capitalization, undefined terms used, number mismatches, and all of those things. And the last piece here is an agent that you can just interact with using natural language that can help you redline the document, draft comments, research the document, search whatever it is you need to do, go online to search or benchmark any items. So essentially, everything that we do in Microsoft Word, and that is connected to the greater picture that Chamelio helps you store and manage your data, review contracts and do the operational things that we do on day-to-day basis, and build a workflow to support and automate those. So that's the end-to-end solution that we believe in-house teams are looking for, that allows them to have a single platform for their entire operational needs while enhancing them with AI. Thanks a lot. I'll see if there are any questions, Stephanie.
Yes, thank you, Gil. If anyone has any questions, again, we ask you to use the Q&A function at the top of your screen. Trying to see. Does not look like there's any in there yet, but I think Claudia had one more slide to share. And yeah, so there's a QR code on this screen. If you do have any questions, you can feel free to reach out to Chamelio and Gil and his team. And I thank you for starting us out and keeping us right on time so we're not running behind for the day.
Thank you so much.
And wonderful. So next, moving on, we have BRYTER, and I would like to welcome to the screen Max Patterson.
Hey, Stephanie. Thank you.
Hi.
Hey. All right. Let's kick off. I'm here to show you BRYTER. But first, I'll give a little preface to what I'm going to show. Is lawyering is changing. It is actively changing right now. The art of providing legal services and the expectation of customers and clients at all levels for all lawyers and all firms are changing because the way the world works is changing. This isn't just a legal space or law firm thing or corporate legal, is that the way we use and leverage technology in our professional lives and personal lives is changing. And that's what BRYTER is all about, is we are a legal automation company. We are an AI and workflow company. We essentially help organizations, whether you're at a law firm, sole practitioner, large major international firm, a corporate legal department, we help you automate and systematize your legal processes, and we help you get to the lawyering in a more efficient manner. Now, what does that actually mean? That actually means building and deploying your own apps for clients to directly interact with, or for you internally to help the trains run more on time or run faster. It means you have better tools at your disposal to actually do your legal work and transform to get to legal information quicker, but also to generate documents and do work and things like that. So what I'm going to do is walk you through some of the tools that we've got. The one unique thing about BRYTER as well is that we've been around for 8+ years, is that this isn't a space that we're new to, is that we have evolved along with the marketplace. Now, I'm going to show you two of our major tools today. The first one is called Beeman, and I believe you're going to see a few of these today. So this is a legal chat tool. It's got a Word plugin, which I'm sure you've already seen one. You'll probably see more. What makes us unique is we're not just about the AI components. AI is an important tool to have in your stack, but you need to be able to do something with it. We are an AI and action company, is that you can not only produce results using AI, getting information and transforming it faster, but then you can do something with it. And what do I mean by that? I mean that, great, interacting with documents. Let's start there. We've done some work recently in the franchise agreement space. So we have a lawyer that has several franchise clients. They upload a franchise agreement. In this agreement, can I advertise outside of my franchise area? Cool. We're interacting with the document. One thing that we've built into BRYTER natively, as any implementation of AI in the legal space should do, is a level of transparency and control. What do I mean by that? I mean, we recognize that it's not just about how you or what answer you're getting, but it's how you get your answer as you're interacting and looking for information, that everything is referenceable, that you come in, that you can access the transparency, you can access original sources as you're going through information. So BRYTER has a standalone tool called Beeman that can be your sort of AI helper with chat functionality. The other element that we've built in natively is extraction, is that we've sort of envisioned ways that you can interact with documents on a larger scale. You know, maybe you're asking quick questions or you're getting insights. You have some legal research that you want to include from different jurisdictions. You want to sort of have clause libraries, interact with voice, choose your model, whatever it might be. But maybe you want to do this at scale, is that maybe you want to analyze several documents at once, is that you can upload those documents, it will auto-translate them, it'll OCR them, it'll do a whole bunch of cool stuff where you can ask questions amongst all of these documents to get bulk answers. Furthermore, you can then validate that information. Again, transparency and control is that not only will it give you the answer against each document, but it'll also show you within the document where it got its answer. And you as the lawyer, the support staff, the paralegal, anyone can come in and always take control to give it the proper answer after your analysis. So, you know, I'm not going to spend too much time on our Beeman tool. We offer free trials of this. You can come and try this yourself. We want to get this in your hands. This is always available for, again, you want to analyze several real estate agreements, employment agreements, franchise agreements, whatever it might be, is we can help you extract, get insights into, validate from those documents, or individually interact with those documents, including, again, in Microsoft Word. So you can go where your work is actually being done, highlighting different portions, chatting with it. All of the functionality is available in there. So I'm always happy to follow up or put this in your hands for you to try yourself. But the really cool stuff is the workflow components. What happens when you want to take different processes that you do as a lawyer or as a firm, and you want to automate them? What happens when you want to take things that are done manually now and put them into a process so you can commoditize them either for self-serve and you can put them in the hands of your clients, or self-serve into internal processes as well? What do I mean by that? Here's a great example, is we've worked with a lot of major firms, but also mid-size all the way through to sole practitioners, where they have a process of legal work that they do, and they want to put that on the rails. They want it to execute the same thing over and over again so that they can streamline it and commoditize it. This is an example where we took an M&A group and we took a piece of their work. Whenever an M&A transaction goes through and it has an analysis across the entire globe, is you have to do a deal review essentially. So we built a really, really streamlined application to essentially say, let me upload a deal memo. Here's a memo that actually outlines the entire deal. Let's upload it and let's extract certain bits of information. What is the structure of this deal? I want AI to give me a summary on what is the strategic rationale of this deal. I want to pull out certain important dates from this deal, but I want to do it, again, in a very controlled and transparent way. I want to see the deal memo so I can compare it and always have control over changing my answers as they come through. Once it's done that first pass, this is important because the next thing it's going to do is actually do an analysis of this deal. So we've actually put some rules on the back end that look something like this. This is a static PDF. A firm, in this case, and this is something that we pulled off the internet, had the rules of what are the thresholds where we have to let, in Armenia, these state agencies, we have to notify them if a deal has a certain size or fits a certain qualification. What we can do is use AI to look at the deal memo, and we validated the information as it came through, look at this document itself and give me a comparison of whether there is mandatory filing. So in France, there's no mandatory filing. In Germany, there is. Why? Well, because there are these risks if you don't file, and it's based on these deals. These are elements that are done manually at the moment, where you have to come through and do this manual work through Excel, through email, that we can actually automate. So different levels of the teams, or again, putting this into your client's hands, you can execute on. But how is this actually built? All of this is built in a no-code environment. So instead of having a full dev and design team, is you as legal experts or IT experts, or even just leveraging our resources, can work through your process to build out a prototype in a number of minutes, hours, to then take that MVP and test it, and then put it into production in a really short amount of time. Because on the back end, what we've done is essentially built a really simple environment that is super secure, because we constantly have to use our login credentials, to essentially block out where you upload your information, where the AI on the back end has extracted those specific dates and come through, shown that transactional or information, done the comparison against that document, that static PDF, which I uploaded, and then showed the results. Is you can build these legal applications really cleanly and simply, leveraging AI to do exactly what you want it to do pretty sophisticated things. And now you might be saying, hey, it's even, pretty complicated. This looks like techie stuff. I don't know how to build these legal processes myself. Well, again, using AI, and some of you might be familiar with vibe coding, is that you can actually build these things really quickly and simply now. So if you're a firm or you're a lawyer and you're saying, you know what, I want to build one of these processes to make my life a lot easier, or to put something in front of my end client, is you can actually build them very simply now too. So I'm going to build a very simple app extremely quickly, in a matter of seconds. So I can stand this up without having a tech background. I'm a lawyer myself, but I know the processes, the legal processes really well. So essentially what you can do now is tell the BRYTER system the type of app that you want to build. So build, in this case, let's say I'm an employment lawyer and I want to deploy every employee since 1986 has to fill out something when you start a new job called an I-9. An I-9 is essentially saying, I'm proving that I have work authorization to work at this company, and I have to submit a form to the government. So why don't we build an app that does that intake for us? So let's tell the BRYTER system to do that. Build an application to intake information needed for an form I-9, and then include an approval or rejection at the end of it for an approver. So what I'm telling it is, take a look at the Form I-9 and get some intake. And then also, maybe I want to put that in a client's hands so a new employee can fill it out, but also put an approval or rejection that I can then go back to them if I need more information or anything at the end. Now, that would take me a lot of time to understand the process, take a look at the I-9 form, make sure it's asking the right questions, make sure it's giving me the right results. But at this point, I want the engine, I want an agent to go out and do that. So what it's actually doing here is taking my prompt, looking at the available information, and it's going to suggest me an application so that I can come tweak it, but it's already done the work for me as I go through and build the information. So it's out scouring that, creating the infrastructure, creating a chain. So we will see it build essentially a flow of an application that we can then validate. Great. In 30 seconds, it's told me it's build the application, and we can take a look at it. So what it does is someone comes in, there's some sort of intro page, it's intaking employee personal information. It's now asking you about your citizenship or immigration status. It has different paths to go down so that you can ask different questions depending on the result of this question. Did you use a translator to prepare this? If not, it skips a section. It looks like it goes through different documents that you used based on different list preparations, and then it's got that approval rejection, and we can actually run this ourselves where, great, in 30 seconds, we have the shell of an application, and I can quickly fill it out. No other last names used, 123 Street, apartment 1A, I'm in New York. I can go through, even pick dates of when I was born pretty recently, have my social in there, get some information, and essentially run through the application with it already having things like validation built in. So I can't go forward unless I add in some information. It's got subject pickers, I did not use a translator, is the entire application itself is built with just a few prompts. So in a nutshell, what BRYTER has is an entire ecosystem for you to automate your legal processes. Whether you're a lawyer coming in and asking questions and needing a direct tool to leverage AI to do your daily work, or whether you're in more of an operations position and you need to build applications to supplement some of the work that lawyers are doing, BRYTER can give you, it's an entire package for those legal resources. So we offer full trials of all this, so feel free to reach out to me. Always happy to show you more beyond the 15 minutes today. Thanks. And any questions, feel free to reach out as well, or I can address them after. Yeah.
Yes, and thank you for that, Max. Everybody is so timely today. I love it. I was expecting to have to play people off like it was the Oscars. But yes, once again, you'll see a QR code here for BRYTER. And moving right along, we have DraftWise up next, and I would like to welcome Scott Ball to the screen.
Hello. Thank you. Thanks, Legaltech Hub crew. Always love working with you guys. It's a little bit of background. I'm a lawyer. I started practicing at Oric back in 2015 in the real estate space. So real estate acquisitions, dispositions, developments, and all the financing that went along with that. I moved into legal tech about 4.5 years ago now after teaching myself how to code. At DraftWise, I don't do any of the actual engineering, but I work really closely with our engineers who are much better engineers than me, as well as our product team to make sure that everything that we're building fit into real legal workflows and that to ensure that all of our output is up to an elite level. So a little bit of background on me. DraftWise is a contract intelligence platform. So what we do is help unlock all of the data and experience that exist within all of your organization or firm's contracts. So we can plug into wherever your contracts live, whether it's iManage, NetDocs, SharePoint, Box, Google Drive. There's a huge laundry list of places that we can integrate. And we form a deep integration with those sources in order to help you access the data that exists in your contracts at a huge scale. So we're talking like 2 to 5 million plus documents is pretty common for our clients. There's a lot that we can do with that data. So understanding what we normally agree to, what our risk tolerances are, what's market across certain types of transactions, and being able to pull information, language from past work into deals that we're working on now. We can help automate high volume contract review based on how you actually negotiate. There's a lot of things here, but what I'm going to show you today is some of the newest stuff that we've built because it's really exciting to me, and it also really helps illustrate our perspective on getting you immediate time to value out of using the platform in a really easy way. So I'm going to share my screen now and hop into it. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to show you is how we can go from not having a playbook at all to having a playbook that I can apply to incoming agreements within minutes. So I love this because previously playbooks were really useful for automating your review of contracts, getting a markup within minutes, but it takes a long time for somebody to decide what positions should be in a playbook. So normally somebody would have to go through maybe their template agreement in order to decide what their preferred positions should be when they're marking up third-party paper to match their template, and then look through a body of executed agreements to figure out where those positions are, where they're willing to compromise. That would take, even just for something like an NDA, maybe like 10 to 20 hours of work that frankly nobody really wants to do in order to be able to get the benefits of being able to apply that playbook and automate it. So we focused a lot of time on reducing that bottleneck so that now you can have playbooks up and running within minutes of getting into the platform and start benefiting from automated markups of new agreements. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to create a playbook from scratch. We can also import existing playbooks. So if you have playbooks for agreement types, maybe in a table in a Microsoft Word document or in an Excel file, easy to just ingest those. But the more interesting case for me is where I'm creating a playbook for an agreement type that I just don't have something already. And I'm going to go through a really common flow that I've been seeing users go through, which is I'm going to create this first from a template document. So I'm going to create my strongest, my preferred positions, my strongest rules, my go forward positions based on our template. Because when I'm reviewing an NDA, first round, what I'm doing a lot of the time is just adapting somebody else's paper to meet what our template normally says. That's where our positions that we're preferred to accept exist. So when I do this, DraftWise is reading through this template and it's extracting, in this case, all the positions here that benefit the recipient, because that's the party that I told that I want this playbook to review documents on behalf of for me. And we can see it's going through and populating my playbook automatically for me. So within a couple of minutes, I'm going to have a full draft of a usable playbook that I can hop over and start running on new documents already. So really powerful for me to be able to go from, hey, I've been thinking about standardizing my review process for this. I'm commonly making the same types of comments to NDAs, DPAs, leases, MSAs, SPAs, the entire suite of NVCA documents. I'm really starting to see, now that we've built this, people using playbooks on document types that we never really talked about in the realm of playbooks. Because this is so easy, people can standardize their review really quickly. So now we've got an initial draft of a playbook. We have preferred positions for all the things that we care about. We provide citations to all this. So I can click on a citation for any of the rules. I can see exactly where it came from. I just pulled up the full text of the agreement here. So really easy for me to go in and verify, see what the full context of this agreement is. And great, now I've got my preferred positions built out. So the next thing I want to do is I want to supplement this playbook. My screen share is cutting off part of my screen that I can access. I want to supplement this. I'm going to try sharing it again. Just a second. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to supplement this with additional rules based on executed NDAs. So I want to find for my fallback positions all those places where I'm willing to compromise. So I'm just going to say, great, create fallback positions for each of these rules based on these executed NDAs. And I'm going to pull some agreements in. This can be, here I think I'm loading 6 in, but this can be, 10, 20, whatever the universe of executed NDAs, or it could just be redline markups showing, where you're willing to compromise and what other positions you like to take. This is just one example of the flow, but now I'm going to supplement my playbook with all of those things that I actually am willing to agree to. And now I'm building out a fully robust playbook based on the real positions that we're taking and storing and systematizing all of that knowledge into something that I can just apply to any new agreement that comes in the door. So very powerful for me to build this. We also see that in the pre-Playbook Studio world, people's playbooks would go stale. So maybe you spend 10, 20 hours building a playbook, and 6 months later, you're taking new positions, you're responding to new regulations or legislation, and now your playbook is a bit out of date. It's a pain to maintain that and keep these useful so that your team is actually using them. But because I can go in and I can just point DraftWise to any of my agreements that I've recently negotiated, it's really easy for me to hop back in and say, oh, you know what? I've been responding to this provision about privacy and personal information recently. Like, update my playbook based on these examples where I've negotiated that, specifically add rules related to privacy and personal information. DraftWise can supplement my playbook. It can modify any of the rules that need modifying just with a prompt and a few examples. And now I have truly living playbooks that move along with me at the speed that I negotiate. So it's not only creating playbooks that we've solved, but also the maintenance problem so that you don't have the issue where you have a playbook that you spend a lot of time invested in creating, and now it goes stale and nobody's using it. So really powerful for me. We can see that we're going in and supplementing all these rules with fallback positions based on what I've actually been negotiating, where I'm actually willing to compromise. This means that everything here reflects what you're truly doing. So I'm going to show really quickly one last thing that this is actually in beta, but it's something that's really exciting to me. And I'm on a developer environment, and since it's in beta, we may run into a bug here. Okay, well, I was hoping to show you all it, but it looks like our devs are actually actively working on this. So what I was going to show is the ability to understand where your playbooks are actually, like how you're actually negotiating based on your playbooks. So we call this a position matrix. And what I can do is see in columns everywhere where across a full set of agreements where I'm getting my preferred position, where I'm getting my fallback position, where I'm getting something else. So we're seeing percentages and other analytics that help me understand, oh, hey, maybe one of my rules, I'm only getting my preferred position 10% of the time, and I'm getting my fallback 30, and we're ending up somewhere else 60% of the time. So that arms me with knowledge about where I'm being inefficient in my negotiations so that I can quickly decide, hey, maybe I don't want to waste a turn of the document asking for a preferred position that we're not getting. Instead, I want to maybe bump my fallback to my preferred and then take one of these other positions and make it my fallback. So giving me an understanding where we're actually landing in our negotiations and helping me decide where I can be more efficient, where I can stop wasting turns of a document and slowing down my deals in order to better negotiate on behalf of my organization or my client. So really powerful tool. Sorry that that we ran into that, but that was the risk of showing you something on a developer environment. So I guess with a couple minutes left, I'm going to show you another aspect of DraftWise. And let me just hop in here to share again. Okay, so now we're looking at DraftWise in the Word doc or in the Word add-in. And this is where I can leverage the entirety of my document repository to help me in negotiations. So what we're doing here, we're looking at red lines that I received to a contract I've been working on from a counterparty. I asked DraftWise for an issues list, and it gave me an issues list immediately, and it pointed out that we've doubled our liability cap. So kind of alarming to me. So the first thing I want to know is, have we ever accepted a $1 million liability cap before? And what DraftWise is going to do is search through all of my other similar agreements. I don't have to point it to them. I don't have to go in and drag and drop all the agreements that I'm interested in looking at. I can just describe what agreements I want to look for. DraftWise can go search through, again, millions of documents in order to run this analysis for me. So now it's going to go through and it's going to let me know off the bat, like whether this is something I should even consider accepting. So DraftWise figures out how to search for the agreements for me. It finds the agreements and then it conducts the analysis on top of that. The way that we do this is through that deep integration with where your documents live. This is a live integration that automatically updates nightly. So all the new documents that go into your NetDocs, iManage, SharePoint, etc., are available on DraftWise the next day. And we automatically respect all the permissions that are set out there. So all ethical walls are automatically inherited within DraftWise. So nobody will ever be able to see things in here that they're not supposed to be able to see. And now we get an explanation. Yes, we've found some places where we've accepted a $1 million liability cap. We're getting an explanation as to what our typical position is. So $1 million is an outlier. Here is a full analysis of where we usually end up. And we get a nice takeaway. Citations to both what our documents are here, as well as all of the source documents, so I can see all the information immediately. So running up on time here, so I'm just going to show you a slide in case you want to reach out. Sorry, I'm working off my laptop instead of my multiple screens, so a little bit difficult, but if you want to reach out, sales@draftwise.com is the easiest to remember, and your inquiry will be routed to the right place. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Scott. Perfect on timing yet again. So moving on, next up, we have Checkbox, and I'm going to welcome Josh Moore to the screen.
Hey, everyone. Good to be here. Glad to give you a peek at Checkbox. So let me go ahead, share my screen, and we'll jump right in. Great. Everyone should see it. So today, I'm thinking that with Checkbox, you're going to fall in love because this software is here to help you. Well, mainly if you're an in-house legal team. We work with in-house legal teams. If you're a law firm, it'll be a great presentation, but sorry, we're here for the in-house teams, you know, the ones who don't have the billable hours. So Checkbox, we position ourselves as the legal front door. Really, what does that mean? We are really that middleman between the business, the requesters, and the legal team, and we make that process so much easier. One of the things a lot of customers find value with Checkbox is because we act as a legal front door, because all requests are funneled through Checkbox, we can give you a level of data and insights you might not previously have. So for example, I can see here, we have 400 open requests with our legal department right now. And Of those, we've completed 108, and our response time is about 15 hours. And those requests in general live with legal for about an hour versus waiting on the business for 31 days. You can see things like, hey, who is requesting the legal work? We can see sales in this example. Biggest contributor of legal work, 59% of all requests come from the sales team. You can see trends of the type of work that's coming in. So we can see like our contract review work every single month is going up. Well, what does that tell you? Well, maybe you need to hire another contract attorney or reallocate resources. And down below, you can see, hey, what's our team working on? What's nice about these? They're all configurable. You can set this up to capture what's important to you. And they're interactive. I can click on it. Here's everything that Dave is working on assigned to him. I can click in, see those details. But it's nice because with everything you're going to see today, just know that there's a level of metrics and reporting that you can use both up the ladder to show the value of the department or downstream to identify bottlenecks and where improvements might need to be made. All of this information, it comes from our matter boards. And this is where all requests from the legal team funnel into, regardless of where they initiate. They could start in Salesforce, they could start in Teams, email, you could fill out a form, right? Like Checkbox meets you where you work. And we'll show you that in just a second. But from this view, we can see here's everything that legal has with them. Again, it's all configurable. Like you can set up the different columns, the metadata, the priorities, how it looks, how it's viewed. And within these, let's say I go look at this particular matter or request. We can see that, oh, look, this request came in via email. And I can respond on platform. Or I could respond in Outlook or Gmail, and it syncs in automatically. And on the right, I can see any of that metadata specific to the type of matter it is. So in this example, it's a litigation matter. This is some detail we want to capture. Versus if I jump back and look at a compliance review example, different metadata specific to that type of request. But this then becomes the single source of truth for that work that needs to happen. And all of that metadata on the right drives the different metrics and dashboards we just looked at, which is awesome, right? But the real power comes from, well, how do these requests get in the system, right? Like, how does this data get in, good data in, so we can actually make actionable decisions on that? And that's where Checkbox is that legal front door. We meet the business where they work. So one example, for some organizations, they like intake forms. It's very familiar. From a change management perspective, it's very easy. So, of course, we support that. You can come in here, you can submit a new request. I want to submit a legal request, click next. I need some marketing materials reviewed, right? And the cool thing about this, you might even notice it, is like it's dynamic. It knows who I am. It knows what department I'm in. These are the common types of requests for that department. Let's say we go in and pick other and say we want to report an IP violation, for example. We'll click next. That will then take me to where I need to provide all the information that legal typically has for that type of request. We'll pick the date it occurred. We'll upload supporting material for it. And then in this, we can then say, okay, we provided that material. We'll click next. And now that request gets processed. It gets routed automatically to Checkbox. The cool thing too, as the requester myself, I have access to a requester portal where I can actually see all of my requests that are with legal, and I can see exactly where they're at. So I can see there's that IP violation I just submitted. I can open it up, see the status, see any work that's happened, what's going on with it. Now I don't have to bother the legal team to get an update. Like I can do that myself. And that's great. For a lot of requests, fantastic. Fill out a form, generate request. But what if there was a better way to do that? Instead of making the user or the requester go somewhere, what if we just met them where they're at? Well, Checkbox can do that. Let's say I'm in Salesforce. I'm here on an opportunity. Well, maybe I want to generate a document. Checkbox has fantastic document assembly capabilities. I want to generate, let's say, an MSA for this Salesforce opportunity. So I'll pick the MSA, I'll click next, and now what happens? Checkbox will get all of the information about this opportunity, maybe the amount, the products, the quantity, the price. We're going to then take that, generate an MSA, and in my example, it just drops it back in the Files tab automatically. There it is, just generated it. I can select it, and I can see here it is. And it dynamically created that document specific to the product term and the installation packages based upon what was logged there. Okay, that's great. Now the sales team can stay in Salesforce. The legal team can own the checks and balances. You know, if you wanted to, that could actually route for approval before it ends up back in here, or it could route via DocuSign automatically. I could even then say, hey, let's submit a legal request. Let's have them review that MSA we just generated. Can you please review this MSA? Send it off. That will then take that and all the relevant metadata that you need, and it's going to automatically route it to Checkbox, creates a request, auto assigns it, round robin. I mean, again, it's very configurable to how your team operates. If we jump back over, we go to the top, we can see that request comes in, and then we can action it. The legal team can then work on it, do whatever they need to do. There it is, right there. But what if it was even better? What if there's a more frictionless way to do that? And that's where Checkbox can meet you, let's say, in Teams, for example. On the left, we have an Ask Legal button. The business can come here and say, hey, you know what? I have a quick question. Maybe I want to know who signs contracts for $50,000. A question the legal team might typically get. Oftentimes, you know, people ask legal questions, and it's just like, if you read the policy yourself, you would know the answer. But why read it myself when I can have the legal team do it? So we can see here, we got that response. The senior manager is authorized to sign those contracts. We can even prove it based on your source material. Exactly what it is. Great. Now we deflected something from even touching legal. Now they can spend their time on more high value work instead of this low value administrative type work. What if we took it a step further? What if instead I came here and I said something like, oh, I don't know, maybe like I got a gift to the Super Bowl. Shout out the Seahawks, any 12th man on the call, you know, represent, great job. So I got tickets to the Super Bowl. What am I supposed to do? Well, typically what happens is legal goes, okay, well, I need to know more about that. So tell me A, B, and C. And then I'd respond with X, Y, and Z. And they'd say, no, I need this. And there's a lot of back and forth that happens. Checkbox, as that legal front door, we will do that data collection for you. So we can see, according to the policy, we have to declare that. So I'll say, yes, I'd like to declare that gift. Then Checkbox will ask for the relevant details that your team needs. Now, instead of filling out a form and checking boxes, it's just conversational intake. I can just speak, and Checkbox will automatically infer what it needs to know in order to submit that. So I can say this is what they're worth, and I got them yesterday. Now that data is captured automatically, and it's routed into Checkbox. If I jump over, we can see that request was logged right at the top. And if we go look at it, circling back to the very beginning, we'll notice that all of the metadata is automatically tagged. And what's nice about that is, like, I didn't have to specifically say, this is an entertainment gift or benefit type. Checkbox just knows it was entertainment, not a physical gift or a meal. But now your legal team gets complete requests. You have accurate data that you can then use to further optimize the department. And the business is happy because their requests get answered quicker. They get answered quicker, which is great. Now, you can even take it a step further. It might not just be for creating requests, but it might also be to kick off different workflows or processes in the background. So for example, let's say we'll go to Slack this time, and I can go to the legal team channel. Actually, we'll go to the Ask Legal app maybe, and I'll say, hey, I need this partnership agreement. Well, now Checkbox recognizes, okay, for this type of contract, this is the information that we need to assemble it based upon your templates. And in my example, because it's a strategic alliance partnership, that is a mandatory legal review. So once I provide the necessary information here, it's going to automatically route that for legal approval before it sends it out for execution via DocuSign, or before we go through the contracting process that Checkbox can facilitate. So you can see I provide that information. Checkbox recognizes it should kick off this workflow, this process. It's done. If we jump over to our email, we will see in just a second that request will come in here, which then we can action directly out of our email client, or back in Checkbox at the matter as well, we could action that.
You've got mail.
There we go, right here. New contract needs your approval. I can see the details. I can click this link to action it. So I'll go ahead and click that. In just a second, it'll scan it and you'll see that Word document. But from here, I can now say, great, what do I want to do? Well, let's go ahead and approve it. Let's not approve it. It'll route back. Click next, send it off via DocuSign. So with that, we can see how Checkbox can really act as that legal front door to process all of the different requests that have come in, to make sure that the data is complete and accurate, provides one single source for legal to go action any of those requests. And importantly, all of that information you can track, you can create different metrics, dashboards, so you can truly show the value that the legal team has, not just in the legal department, but across the organization. Legal is one of those unique departments that really touches every department. And with this, you're able to visualize that. So if you'd like to learn more, bottom right corner, scan that QR code with your phone. You'll email me. Happy to dive in, see if you have any problems that we might be able to solve. And this is just an example of the legal front door. There are so many other use cases that we help clients with, from a modular approach to contract management, to vendor management with outside counsel firms, to, I mean, you name it. So definitely scan that QR code, bottom right corner with your phone. You'll email me. Happy to be here and be of assistance.
Thank you, Josh. You can never go wrong with WHAM or an AOL soundbite. So great.
That's right.
Thank you. Yes. Thank you so much for that. We are at the 1/3 mark. We're 1 hour down, everyone. Thank you. And there are a lot of you coming in now. So I just want to remind you again about the Q&A function. Feel free. You don't have to wait till the end of a presentation to put them in there, because they might come in after a speaker has already finished. If that happens, if there's an unanswered question in there, we will be sending them to the speakers to get answers for you. But feel free to type in that box at any point during a presentation, so hopefully people can see your questions and answer them while they're still on the screen. We also would like to remind you about a couple events that Legaltech Hub has coming up. Claudia will put the information in the chat for you, but if you're in New York or London, we have Velocity in New York and Horizons in London coming up, if you're interested in those events and don't have enough activity on your events calendar yet. So she will share those links with you if you want to join us for more. And then now, without further ado, kicking off our next hour, we have Litera, and I would like to welcome Ana Maria Verdeja.
Thank you so much. I will go ahead and share my screen. Okay, so can everyone see my screen?
Yep.
Perfect. All right. So just to piggyback on what she was saying, I love engagement. Please interrupt, ask questions, and we can go through this together. So hi, I'm Anna Maria Verdeja. Thank you so much for having me. I'm the Vice President of Sales at a company called Postalize, and we power Foundation Proactive at Litera. I spend my time working very closely with legal teams who are all trying to solve the same challenge: how to stay ahead of client needs and market shifts instead of reacting to them. Today, I want to share how we think about making legal teams truly proactive. And before I jump in, I want to quickly set some expectations. Foundation Proactive is a full platform, but today I'm not going to walk you through the UI. The reason is very simple. Depending on the company, the law firm, the practice group, or even the individual, the way Proactive shows up can look very different. So some business development teams live in the platform daily, while we see a lot of attorneys never log into the platform at all. And that's simply because the intelligence is delivered into their existing workflow, including Outlook, or through many different integrations that we have, specifically those native integrations with the multitude of Litera's ecosystem and products. So this isn't a one-size-fits-all tool. It's configurable at the firm level, the company level, practice level, and even the individual level, as I stated. So rather than showing those screens, I'm going to walk you through what it is that it exactly does for you and how that can change some outcomes. So I want to start with a very simple idea. In legal today, timing is a competitive advantage. The firms and legal departments that move first, whether towards an opportunity or away from risk, consistently outperform those who react after something becomes public. The challenge is that most legal infrastructure was never designed for timing. It was designed for record keeping. And let me explain what I mean by this. Relationships don't slip through the cracks because teams don't care. They slip because scaling everything that you're doing on a day-to-day basis is extremely difficult. So 33% of CRM contacts go stale every year. 42% of contacts leave due to lack of communication. And when matters arise, firms often compete with 3 to 13 others. So what we're seeing is the general counsel frequently are prioritizing the most recent meaningful touch point. So for in-house teams, the pattern is very similar. Risk often comes visible only after it tends to escalate. So the issue isn't a lack of information, it's really a lack of timely alignment, and that leads to a deeper structural issue. Legal has invested heavily in systems of record. CRMs, again, that capture what happened, ERMs that show who you know, but neither is built to anticipate what's actually forming and the environment being created around potential legal matters. Most outreach is triggered by headlines and referrals or quarterly reviews, not by early trajectory signals. As a result, even highly capable teams operate pretty reactively. What's been missing is a system of foresight, and that's where our approach begins. Proactive relationship management is built around a simple idea. Don't wait for an opportunity or risk to become obvious. Identify meaningful shifts early, align them to real relationship context, and enable immediate coordinated action. So to make that possible, we focus on 3 components. Part of our product, we have these 3 modules. The first is signals. So signals are those pieces that are going to identify those meaningful shifts, those market movements, organizational changes, strategic indicators that historically correlate with legal work or legal impact. The second is going to be that relationship intelligence component, which analyzes relationship strength and visibility across your company and organization to determine who is best positioned to engage and with who. And the third component is cleanse. Clean data is important. If none of this, if basically everything we're doing, none of this works unless you have clean contact data. Otherwise, it's outdated, it's fragmented, and you're not going to have trust in the systems and what you're building out. Independently, all of these solve very real problems, but the real advantage is when they work together, and that's where the concept of like the bullseye comes into play. So I would think of proactive as a bullseye. The outer ring are those signals. Those are those meaningful external shifts. The middle ring is that relationship context. Do you actually have a credible connection to this company or a decision maker? Where does the trust already lie today? And then the center is that ownership piece. Who specifically should be the one acting? A signal alone is speculative. A relationship alone is dormant. But when event, context, and ownership intersect, you're creating that proactive bullseye. That's when awareness turns into revenue or risk mitigation. And importantly, this is not one size fits all. You're not going to have everyone getting, the same signals across the board per se. So every company, firm, practice group, and even individual partner is going to have it configured for only those things that they care about. And the best piece of that is we'll configure it on your behalf. So the setup time is pretty quick. Because of our integrations, we're able to pull in some of that. Otherwise, we just need a couple minutes really of a project manager's time in order to make sure that everything is configured for each person who will be utilizing it. The signals you receive are aligned to your industries and your practice areas, your strategic priorities, and your existing client and prospect base. A restructuring partner is not going to get the same thing that a private equity partner is going to get. A firm that's based on healthcare and is specializing in that is not going to see the same stuff as someone focused on energy. Again, it is all tailored because relevance is what drives action. And a great way to show that is through a real world example. Now I'm going to use Litera as the example because it's a really, really cool one to call out. Over roughly a 2-year period, Litera completed more than 18 acquisitions. You heard that right, 18, 1-8. Now put yourself in the position of a law firm watching that from the outside. After the first acquisition, looks like a one-off transaction. After the second, you might think, oh, that's interesting, they're growing. But then after the third, this is a trajectory forming. With Proactive, you would not simply see acquisition announced. You would see a signal indicating acceleration, a pattern emerging with a defined window tied directly to, that person that you have that relationship with in terms of Litera or that prospect for this example. Alongside that signal, you can see from your firm's relationship context, who's best connected with the CEO? Who has the most recent engagement? Which partner has credibility and experience in M&A roll-ups or integration work? It's really about connecting all of the dots, all of those puzzle pieces together. So instead of reading about acquisition number 18 in the news and reacting, you could have reached out in the beginning after, the first set of acquisitions, or some of our signals even show you kind of a peek around the corner, and I'll give you some examples of that even prior to any of these things happening. And it makes it so it's not like a generic congratulations. It's more of a coordinated point of view about scaling, strategy, integration risk, employment harmonization, regulatory exposure, and so on. That's the difference between chasing transactions and positioning for a growth thesis. So in this case, it's not a single firm proactively. It's actually very interesting to me. Not a single law firm still to this date has reached out proactively to Avanish, the CEO, or to others to ask about the strategy, see if there's going to be any additional M&A. It's something that's very simple in hindsight. It's not really like a capability gap. It's more of signal alignment gap. Seeing these things as they're happening with the context, the right person, and making sure that you are acting towards it in the proper way. And again, this isn't only about long-term trajectory patterns. During a recent client training, one of our users saw a signal tied to a key client, something that had happened just 5 days previous. She literally got on the call, saw the signal, had to jump off and call them because they were her #1 client and she had no idea this was happening. I was a little surprised because I didn't think 5 days previously, especially with a weekend in between, was anything crazy. But to her, this was like, she needed to know the second it happened. I almost wish her training had been, 5 days previously so she could have seen it. But that was really, really important. It hadn't yet been widely circulated. It wasn't obvious, but because it was surfaced in the context specific to her relationship, she immediately was able to know who to loop in internally, which was herself and a couple of team members that we were able to lift with that relationship intelligence component. And instead of discovering it, in 1 or 2 weeks when she had her internal meeting and her basically like the quarterly review with the firm and with the company, she was able to action it as soon as she saw it with our tool. So that compression of time is really where the advantage lives. You want to get your foot in the door as soon as something happens. In another instance, a pattern surfaced that ultimately led to a major public development 4 months later. So the news headline arrived in Q4, yet we had a signal in the early summer and a second signal almost a month exactly to the date of when that public headline was announced. So when you see something 4 months ahead of the headline, outreach shifts from something that's reactive to something that can be really strategic. A lot of the times with legal work, once the event is actually announced, there's not much work left to do. There's going to be some trickling work within the environment that it creates, but there's not necessarily maybe that specific piece of work that you're used to doing available anymore. So again, peeking around the corner, seeing what's coming down the line potentially from a legal perspective is what's going to matter and make a difference. A lot of what we're doing is cutting through the noise. You don't need to know every single thing that happens with JP Morgan today, the 100 things that happened. You just need to know the one thing that's going to actually lead to legal work that your attorneys, your law firm is going to care about. Same perspective from a company side in-house. You care about very specific things tied to your business. You need to be able to see anything that you can to predict what might be coming down the line and engage with those people that are best suited for you and your business. So this level of proactive alignment isn't possible manually. AI does act as a force multiplier here. So in signals, it does reduce thousands of potential data points into a focused set of high confidence opportunities. In relationship intelligence, it evaluates strength and recency across the organization to determine who should engage. And in cleanse, it continuously maintains data integrity so teams can trust what they're acting on. AI also, of course, enables that personalization piece that I had spoken about so that things surface differently depending on who you are and what you care about. It doesn't replace judgment, it just compresses time to action. CRM captures what happened. ERM shows you who you know. Proactive relationship management ensures that you act before opportunity or risk becomes obvious. So with proactive, you're able to, again, peek around the corner. It's not because you have more data. It's not because the signals that are delivered to you, it is because the signals that are delivered to you are specifically tied to those things that you care about. They're aligned to that relationship context and they're routed to the right person before others might even realize that something is forming. So it's not about more alerts. It's about earlier clarity. And in today's environment, the teams that move first consistently outperform those who react second. Proactive relationship management shifts legal from reactive support to strategic foresight. It's all about giving you essentially BD superpowers and knowing everything that's happening so your clients feel like they are your #1 client and priority at all times. So thank you. I am happy to schedule any demos if there's interest, answer any additional questions. Here are my 2 emails and a QR code as well if you would like to scan for a demo. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for joining us, Anna Maria.
Yes.
Perfect. And as she said, there is the QR code there if you want to reach out to Litera or Postalize and Anna Maria. So moving right along, next up, we have Harvey, and I would like to welcome Amy Egerstrom to the screen.
Thank you so much, Stephanie. Hi, everyone. I'm going to start sharing my screen. So we're going to get right into it. So my name's Amy Egerstrom. I'm part of Harvey's legal engineering team. I joined Harvey about a year ago after practicing at Vincent and Elkins, where I was actually a Harvey user day in and day out. For those of you who don't know Harvey yet, Harvey is a unified platform for legal work. We aren't a point solution. Rather, we're a tool that helps empower lawyers do their work faster, more thoroughly, and to a higher degree of excellence through detail and collaboration. We're backed by some of the most storied investors in Silicon Valley and partner with the top firms and Fortune 500 companies globally. Today, I'm going to walk you through how I would have used Harvey myself, starting with research, moving into contract review, and sharing this knowledge beyond the Harvey environment of a single user, and then scaling this across an entire portfolio. So to do so, we're going to be covering Harvey's partnership with LexisNexis, Harvey for Word, Shared Spaces, and Harvey's Vault. So we're going to start off today's demo in Harvey's Assistant. So Harvey's Assistant is that conversational large language model where our users can drop documents into Harvey from any of our DMS integrations or select a knowledge source to start off our research and analysis. I'm going to be doing a legal research question, so I'm going to go ahead and set those filters. We can select by publication status, Jurisdiction, I'm going to go all federal here, cast a wide net, and we can also select by type of law. So we'll start us off with a legal research question, as I mentioned. I used to do a lot of anti-bribery and anti-corruption work. I was advising both companies that had gone through acquisitions on, what their FCPA liabilities could be. But I know from my in-house friends that this is also a pretty common flow for them as well. So Harvey, I'm a lawyer advising a company that engages a lot of suppliers. I'm updating our ABAC corruption language and supplier agreements and want to understand what liabilities we may face if a vendor engages in a subcontractor that engages in any behavior that might implicate the FCPA. I don't just want to know what the law says, but I want to know just practically what are the best practices for drafting risk factors based on what the courts have said. And for this kind of workflow, we're going to need to ground Harvey in an authoritative set of case law, statutes, and regulations to get an accurate response. This is why we've partnered up with Lexis through LexisNexis Protégé to give lawyers that authoritative database of case law, statutes, and regulations. So here, Harvey's sending off our prompt over to Lexis Protégé. Lexis Protégé is going to search through case law, statutes, and regulations, and then it's going to send off a response back to Harvey, as we can see here. So we're going to get an overview of FCPA liability, this great answer about case law interpretation as well, exceptions and limitations, and a conclusion that incorporates those best practices. But the most important part here is not just going to be this great answer. Harvey can read faster than I can and can read much more material than I can in a shorter amount of time, right? We already got this great answer. How do I trust it? Well, Harvey is now generating what we call citations. So Harvey's still answering. Those citations will run right after the answer is done running. So let's take a look in the interest of time. What do those citations look like? So these citations, as we can see, I pre-ran this prompt a few minutes ago. We can hover over the citation and see where in the statute, case law, or regulation Harvey took information from to generate this answer. These citations are what's most important from a detail perspective in the way that lawyers work. Here at Harvey, we always say, trust but verify. I can click into the citation. Harvey's actually going to take me straight to LexisNexis so that I can take a look at what Harvey and Lexis pulled for me, determine does this case actually exist? Does it stand for what Harvey and Lexis are telling me it stands for? And is this good law that I actually want to cite to? So this is all well and good, but what I would have done with this as an associate is create a checklist, right? We're never just doing the legal research question. I may have to start marking up some documents. So using Harvey's follow-ups here, I've asked Harvey to take the analysis it created up above and create that comprehensive checklist that I can apply to those vendor contracts that I'm going to be reviewing to identify what key provisions are missing that could create risk for my client. Harvey generated this neat little table for us, identifying everything from subcontractor and third-party controls, prior written approvals, DD and disclosure, internal controls and record keeping, et cetera, All of Harvey's output is easily exportable. In this case, we're just going to export that table. So I'm going to expand it. I'm going to export it into Microsoft Word, and we're actually going to leverage this table in our next example. So we're now going to move on to Harvey for Word, which is where the actual marking up of documents happens. So I've pulled up that supply agreement, right? That first supply agreement that I'm marking up. Here in Harvey for Word, we'll be able to access Harvey's assistant. We'll be able to access those same document integrations with DMS. And I'm now going to upload that checklist that we created in the first example. So using this checklist, I can actually mark up this agreement by asking Harvey to review this supply agreement against the checklist, identify any discrepancies, and make suggestions all at the same time. So this is going to help me do some issue spotting over here, but Harvey's also going to generate some proposed language. Harvey for Word is really where we see lawyers do the marking up of those agreements. We're going to see the same process happen over here with the addition of some suggestions that we're always going to be able to apply one by one, review what Harvey's doing before Harvey gets into the document and does anything else. Lawyers are always in the driver's seat here. So let's skip ahead for a second over here. As Harvey's generating these suggestions, generating this answer, in the interest of time, let's take a look at what this looks like. So again, I pre-ran this a little bit earlier. Here's our supply agreement to the left. Harvey finished thinking in some 17 steps. Harvey generated this table that identified what is present in the agreement, what is partially present, and what's entirely missing. This table replicates, as you guys can see, that first table that we did in the first example. This is a detail that I particularly like. And we're going to get those citations back here, even in Harvey for Word. So we'll be able to click in and continue verifying where did Harvey get this information from. Harvey's going to give us a summary of the gaps, some suggested changes to bridge the gaps. And finally, and most importantly, Harvey's going to make some suggestions based on those gaps that I've identified. So we'll be able to apply suggested language with a comment directly, one by one, or all at a time after we've reviewed them. And we'll see those comments will let the next stakeholder know why we made those changes. So going back here, let's go ahead. Let's assume I reviewed them all. I'm going to apply all of them with comments and let whoever else is looking at this supply agreement next understand why I made these changes. So if I were at a law firm or if I were in-house, I wouldn't want this great checklist and this new knowledge that we have to live inside a single lawyer's brain or inside a single lawyer's Harvey instance. I like to be able to create a tool that others can use reliably. So Harvey's workflows are exactly that. So these workflows are tools that are both custom and out of the box that through the creation of a playbook or any self-serve tools, for example, that may help other teams who work with legal, we'll be able to roll these out to other users. So how do we bring this tool to that collaborative space that really speaks to how we work as lawyers, right? Cross-functionally and with other lawyers. How do we make sure that context isn't fragmented and that this tool is actually accessible and visible to those who need to use it? Harvey's answer to that is shared spaces. So in shared spaces, I've here created a shared space where the Harvey law firm is collaborating with the Demo Dozen Corporation. After perhaps an acquisition, we've added those commercial contracts, including the one that we were just reviewing. That data is now in here. We've added a self-serve tool as well, and we've added that same checklist now in playbook format. So these shared spaces provide a centralized workspace where the tools that we created can be accessible to the teams that we are working with, whether it's our outside counsel, our internal customers, or our team as a whole. So permissioning can be granular. You all will be able to define whether people can, fully collaborate, view only, or even download. That way there's no issue about stuff, being applied consistently. So we're never only doing a markup over just one contract. Really, we're working with tons of files as lawyers. So Harvey's Vault is exactly where we want to go to analyze files kind of at large. So let's go into that vault with those commercial contracts. So I have 48 of those here. How do I look for risk kind of as a whole, right? Where is the risk in all these 48 files? It could be up to 100,000 files. We're going to select Harvey's review table function. We'll be able to select all those commercial contracts that we're going to need to mark up. And then the next piece is we're going to add some columns. We can pretty much copy and paste our checklist that we created in example 1 into the column builder, have Harvey generate those same columns that existed on our checklist, but now so that we can scale across a corpus of information. So Harvey's going to start generating one question per column over here. These are all structured to have yes or no answers so that I can quickly filter and classify and identify risk at scale and more granularly. So let's look at what this looks like. So over here, we have those FCPA and anti-corruption requirements, no bribery representation. I'll be able to filter, FCPA equals no. These are generating the most risk. But now I can see granularly, even within this bucket, there are some that do have a no bribery representation. And I'll be able to kind of filter through and identify that risk more granularly. So thank you all. That's Harvey, that comprehensive legal platform. And we can see now Harvey can read faster and further than I can, has allowed us to gain a speed advantage by turning case law into a structured checklist. And we can mark up a live agreement, share it across teams, apply it across an entire portfolio of supply agreements so that we can effectively triage, identify risk, and spend more time exercising judgment on that risk. If you all would like a demo, feel free to scan that QR code or visit harvey.ai contact sales and request that demo from the team.
Great. Thank you so much, Ami, for that demo. We are a couple minutes ahead of schedule, so if anyone had a Q&A they wanted to put in, feel free to drop it in. Otherwise, we'll be moving on in a moment, and we're queuing up our next speaker. And so, perfect. Again, if we do get any questions in after the fact, we will pass it along to Harvey and the team. And so now we'll move forward, and next up we have Legora, and I would like to welcome Alex Altieri to the screen.
Hi, everybody. How's it going? I'll pull up a screen on the side here. Everybody can hear me okay? Everybody can see everything okay?
Looks good.
Amy, thanks so much for that presentation. It was great to see you guys operate. I just want to welcome everybody to Legora here, a collaborative AI platform for legal work, supporting lawyers in research, review, and drafting across complex matters. It's used by tens of thousands of legal professionals at more than 700 leading law firms and in-house legal teams, including Bird & Bird, Cleary Gottlieb, White & Case, Linklaters, Deloitte, Dentons, and many others. My name is Alex Altieri. I'm on the go-to-market team at Legora after 4 years of practice as an M&A and securities attorney at Debevoise and Plimpton in New York. Today, I'll be giving a general overview of the Legora platform and its interoperability between interfaces through an M&A transaction lens. Legora exists in a few different yet interconnected places. The first is our web platform. But Legora also exists as an Outlook plugin, as you can see here, and as a Microsoft Word plugin. We'll start off in the Outlook plugin. Imagine you've received this email letting you know from a client, letting you know that they have a signed letter of intent and they're ready to begin an M&A transaction. Naturally, they want you to get the documents to the opposing counsel as soon as possible. Using Legora, we can save down this email and the associated files right into the web platform in our project Yuletide. So I can save the files. Beyond that, I can also ask Legora's assistant to draft a response email to the client, asking them, Legora, to manage the expectations on the timeline. So what it'll do in this situation is process my request against the context of the email and draft a response preview that I can review. If I'm okay with the language, I can accept the draft, and it'll go directly into the contents of the email, and I can send it the way toward the client. Now, naturally, as we make our next step towards drafting, we'll turn to Microsoft Word and try to draft our primary M&A transaction document. What I have here is an SPA, which for all intents and purposes, we'll assume is from a precedent transaction with that same client. What I can do here with this SPA is start off by taking that same LOI that we had just received from the client from our database here with Yuletide and apply it to our Microsoft Word add-in. And I can ask Legora to update and edit the precedent, applying the definitions, terms, and provisions of the attached LOI, at which point it will start to review the LOI and the precedent and put together suggested changes. This can often take a couple of minutes, so in the meantime, we'll go back to the web platform and start working on some other M&A workflows. To start, we'll look at the due diligence process. In order to drive a due diligence process, we like to rely on one of our favorite and most advanced features, our workflow tools. What I can do here is operate a tabular review due diligence workflow, which will take the entirety of a VDR, which I've extracted and now dropped into the workflow, and I can run the workflow. What will happen here is the workflow, which is a cascading set of prompts, will analyze the contents of the document and begin to categorize the various documents into I guess, different categories based on the contents of the document. So that could be a compliance document, corporate governance document, that could be financials, that could be tax documentation, employment documentation. And we'll start to build out a series of what we call tabular reviews, chart reviews of the various areas of documentation. This is another area that will take a bit of time. So in the interest of time, I ran this in advance. And so I can come here to tabular review and see that we have 4 different categories of document within the VDR that have been analyzed. I'll open up our HR and employment documentation. And what we have here on the left-hand side are a series of rows that have been filled out by the HR and employment documentation within the VDR. The columns represent our queries, the specified information that we wish to pull from each of the relevant documents. These are entirely customizable queries, so I can change the label, the format, the specific prompt. I can even delete, duplicate, or add columns as I see fit. But beyond that initial request of pulling documents and summarizing materials, we can ask Legora to analyze in a little bit more depth by asking any of these docs outdated, at which point it will start to analyze the contents of the tabular review cells and the contents of the document. It will then start to consider if any of the information being provided evidence is being outdated and thus not relevant to our review. It start to generate a response about the documentation and provide some recommendations. What you can see as well within the contents of the response are a series of numerical bubbles, which are hyperlink citations, as you just saw as well. So if I were to click on one of these, it will bring me directly to the relevant cell in question, so I can verify the information that's being provided. I can even review in more depth by opening up our review mode, seeing the answer, and looking at the extensive reasoning provided for why the answer came to be, including hyperlink citations to the source material as to how it came to the conclusion. Now, because Legora views itself as a collaborative tool, we also offer you the opportunity to mark this cell as having been reviewed or flag it for further review. You can even edit on top of what's been provided if you're not satisfied with the response from Legora. Now, assume you've gone through the exercise of reviewing all of these cells, and you need to go one step further to start to put together your due diligence report. In order to do so, I like to leverage our editor function, which is our word processing tool in Legora. If I want to then put together a red flag report as part of this diligence process, I can pull up a template here to act as a guiding force for the drafting process. I can ask Legora to draft a red flag report using the attached, and based on the 4 tabular reviews that have been put together based on the contents of the VDR. So I can say category 1, category 2, category 3, and category 4. At which point I can ask the process to run. What will happen here is Legora will analyze the query that I've provided against the red flag report and start to understand, based on the template provided, what information needs to be pulled and developed as part of the drafting process. From there, it will start to consider which tabular reviews have the relevant information, and then it will go so far as to analyze the information there and start to distill it into a digestible format and begin drafting into our editor feature a red flag report matching the formatting and the organization of the template provided. Again, in the interest of time here, I'll go straight to our editor feature, where I have a fleshed out red flag due diligence report, which, as you can see, explains here all of the aspects of the red flags that they found in our tabular reviews here. I can engage now the assistant to draft a short cover letter at the top of the document, summarizing the critical red flags, at which point this can be developed to be more client ready as a deliverable, right? We'll have an executive summary put together on the top of the document. While this is coming together, we'll come back, to our Word document to see what progress has been made. As you can see in the right-hand panel, there are a series of changes being recommended by Legora based on the LOI. These changes, all 67 of them, range from more complicated changes to sections to more simplistic changes such as the governing law. In the interest of time, I can apply all of these changes in track, but I could also add comments to help see why these changes are being made. While this is happening, I'll come back to our editor feature and look at the generated response, which provides a summary of some of the critical red flags. So this can now be in a better situation to pass on to your client. This document can be live edited as you would with any word processing tool, and it can also be exported back into Word if you prefer to work in that interface. This is now saved into our system, but can also be saved directly into your document management system through our various integration tools. As we finish the due diligence process, we'll want to move on to drafting some of the ancillary documents that will be part of our M&A work streams. To do so, we're going to engage our Word Edits feature. So what Word Edits allows you to do is edit a full document stack based on a series of precedents that you'd like to edit and some guiding documentation. In this case, our LOI and an email outlining the directors and officers of the company. So what I can then ask Legora to do is to update the various documents here. Excuse me. Update the various ancillaries based on the deal info in the LOI and the email attached. And with this, rather than having to go into Microsoft Word and make the changes specific to each document, within each document, Legora will analyze the query, analyze the documents provided, and start to live edit the documentation in their Microsoft Word format, making changes specific to that document against the guiding materials. So as a result of that, what you'll see is that certain changes are being generated in track changes for your review. You'll see a preview come up on the right-hand side when the documents start to complete, so you can see all of those track changes and get a summary at the end previewing all of the collective changes to the series of documents. So as you can see, certain changes are being made here. This can also be exported into Word and saved directly into your document management system. And at this point in time, it's been saved directly into Legora. While this comes together, I'll start putting together our second use of the Word Edits feature, which is actually allowing you to take a form document, such as this letter of resignation, and apply the same DNO email, and I can ask Legora to dupe out letters of resignation for each D and O from the email. At which point, it will take this form document and create a series of documents, one for each of the directors and officers named in the email. This will go through the exact same process that you just saw, making the specific edits to each of these documents, so you can go through the process of putting together these ancillaries far more quickly with just a single prompt. While this is generating, I'll come back to our SPA to show that changes have been made in track, and so you can continue that review process as the Word Edits feature continues to put together documentation. Now, as we can see, it's starting to preview some of the edits. You'll always notice with Legora, it shows you where it is in the process of drafting. So you can see now certain edits have been generated so far, and it's continuing to upload and engage the edited document. This will start to come together on the right-hand side. And what I'll flag for you is, again, this will save directly into Legora, into your project workspace, and you can save this all directly into your integrated document management system. With the completion of this, we'll make the assumption you took the time to update the SPA based on some of the track changes and any other changes you see fit, and I can come back to our Outlook feature, come back to the email we sent earlier, and put together an email to the client delivering the various documents we've just put together. So I'll start by adding in our Project Yuletide folder the various documents that we just put together using Word Edits, along with an updated SPA and our due diligence report drafted in Editor. I can add these to the email, and now I can ask, please draft an email to client delivering these attachments. At which point, Legora will review and read all of the contents provided in the attachments, read the context of the email, and start to put together draft language for a response to the client that previews on the right-hand side as you saw earlier. From there, I can approve the language, have it set up directly into the contents of the email with the relevant attachments, and send right back to the client for their review. With all this, I can say that this is just one of the many use cases of the Legora platform. And I understand many of you operate in different practice areas. So if you'd like to see an in-depth demo for your specific practice area, please don't hesitate to reach out to a member of our team or me directly, and we can set up time to discuss this in a little bit more depth. With the couple of minutes I have, I'd love to open the floor if there are any questions.
Yes, you were exactly watching the clock. You did have a couple minutes left. If anybody has any questions, feel free to put them in the Q&A while we have Alex here. And again, there is the QR code if you want to reach out after the fact to Alex and the Legora team. And then moving right along then. Everybody
Thanks for the time, Stephanie.
Yes, thank you.
Have a good one, everybody.
Thanks, Alex. Okay, we are going to keep moving along here. Next up, we have our own Rory Halligan, who I'm going to ask to join on to show you a little about Legaltech Hub, and then we will go into our last hour of demos. And with that, I will turn it over to Rory.
Thanks, Stephanie. Hi, everyone. I'm just going to jump and share my screen quickly. All right, you should now be able to see the homepage of Legaltech Hub. But thank you, everybody, for joining today. By way of introduction, my name is Rory. I'm a business development manager here at Legaltech Hub, based out of the UK team. And I'm conscious we've got 15 minutes. I'm going to dive right in and walk you through the platform. So to introduce Legaltech Hub, we are the leading insights and analysis platform focused exclusively on the legal tech market and industry. You can think of us like the Gartner for legal tech, and we do four key things here at Legaltech Hub. The first being our directory, which is the most comprehensive legal tech directory on the market, with over 3,000 solutions listed in there. The second being what we call Legaltech Hub Premium, which is a layer that sits on top of the directory that has carefully curated content to help you with your procurement project and vendor selection. But also there's some news and articles around industry trends, as well as educational pieces as well. Third thing we do is our own Legaltech Hub hosted events, which we have series running globally. And the fourth and final thing is our advisory offering. So I'll jump into each of these over the next 15 minutes. Starting off with the directory. So the first thing that I'd like to highlight that you can do in the directory is the ability here to follow and add solutions to what we call portfolio management. So you can add the solution into one of three buckets. The first being portfolio. So these are solutions that you're already using within your firm or your legal team. The second being reviewed. You may have looked at these in the past and decided not to move forward with them at the time. And the third being watching. So this is things that you're interested in and you want to learn more about, or maybe you have an active selection process on the go and these are your shortlisted vendors. So I'm now going to jump up here to my account and go to my followed solutions. So as you can see, it's got the three tabs here relating to the three buckets that we just spoke through. We've also given you the ability here to add notes to these as well. So we were talking to loads of law firms and we were understanding from them that this typically lives, it's one person's responsibility to manage the portfolio and they have this out of a spreadsheet shared locally somewhere. So the idea behind this is to kind of be the single source of truth for you and your team to know which technologies you're tracking within your firm. Now, jumping back to the directory, I want to bring your attention to these smart filters on the left-hand side here. So for the sake of today, I'm going to say that we're looking at document automation tools. And I want these document automation tools to be able to integrate with our SharePoint instance. And then finally, I would like to have an element of generative AI with these document automation tools. So you'll see already that we've gone from over 3,000 solutions down to a more concise list of just 9 solutions. We give you the ability to compare up to 5 vendors side by side at once. I'm going to choose a few today to pick on and hit compare. Now, what this does is this brings you into the side-by-side view of these vendors, and this will cover information, the short and long description of the vendor. We then go into some company information, where they're headquartered, the languages and the regions served. We also provide some information around funding as well. We also know from talking to firms that it's important to understand which of their peers are already using this technology. So we provide information on existing customers of this as well. We even cover things, if I keep scrolling down here, such as data hosting and security locations. Now you will notice that some of the information here is next to padlocks. That means that this information is only available to our premium subscribers. Now I could spend hours on the directory with the number of vendors and the number of filters that we have, but I'm going to jump back out now into our premium offering. So we've broken this down into 3 key pillars. Now the first being solutions guides. So what these are, the solutions guides are linked to each of our 29 premium categories, and we're planning on growing this between 5 and 10 new categories this year. And these are various documents that can help you with every stage of your procurement process, from early on sort of analysis and selection, all the way to the procurement framework and business case. So if I jump into AI Legal Assistant as an example, one thing you can do here is you can follow the category as a whole. And what this means is you'll get an email notification when there's new vendors added into this category or a new piece of significant content is added as well. If I come across to the content tab here, we like to follow this in order. And the first piece that I'm going to highlight is the landscape overview. Now, what this is where you start. When you're looking into a new technology, this is where you want to kind of get an understanding of what this technology is. We cover, the common use cases, some of the risk and adoption challenges, and also the benefits of using this technology. So this is where you'd start to get that understanding. Now, if I come back into the next piece, after using the directory and looking through various resources to find different different vendors, we will then move on to the evaluation framework, as you'll likely be talking to these vendors. So what we've done here is we've written a set of questions that you can use while on demonstrations and discovery calls with the vendors. And the idea behind this is that you can gather all the relevant information that you need to make an informed decision if this is the right vendor for you to move forward through the process or not. Now, from there, you need somewhere to put all that information and all that data that you've gathered. So what we've done is created what we call the requirements template. So you can use this as a President document where you can plug in all that data, and this gives you the ability to assess and score vendors next to each other to find which one is the best fit for you. With this document as well, this is completely downloadable, and this is also, you can make this a live document and collaborative so that you and the team can work through this together. Moving on from there, if everything's going well, you will have likely selected a vendor that you want to move forward with. So what we've done is we put together a business case. We understand that you will be looking to raise budget for this tool. So you can use this in its entirety, or you can also chop pieces out of this that you like and put this within your own business case template. But the key thing I'd like to highlight here, that across each of our 29 premium categories in the business case documents, we've done the ROI calculations for this specific technology for you. We also recommend, when you're kind of going up to the board to get sign off for budget, pairing this document with the landscape overview so that whoever is signing off and holding that budget can get the high level overview of what the technology is, and then they can come to the business case and get the specific ROI calculations with the vendor you're looking to move forward on. And the fifth and final core document we have in our premium categories, I won't dive into today, but we have the pilot guide. So once you're moving forward, we've put together a piece of best practice on how to run a successful pilot or proof of concept. And in here, we include everything such as the resources and the timeline and the training that you need to assign to this. Now, within each of our premium categories, we also have these vendor analysis documents. Now, for today, as we do have other vendors on the call, I won't jump into one of these as there is confidential information in there. But we like to think of these as pre-filled out RFPs. So how this works is we will work with the vendor to fill out this document, which has between 60 and 80 data points in there. And this is information that you won't typically find on the website. So you would normally have to book meetings and meet with the vendor to get this, and there may be some bits that you'd miss. But we like to think of this as around about 80% of the information that you would be looking to gather if you released an RFP out into market. Now I'm going to jump back up here to another way that you can gather information on vendors. So if I come across to our product briefing library, We currently have 127 product briefings with vendors. I'm going to select our own today, but they all follow the similar layout and template. So how this works is we do two parts to this. We'll sit down typically with a CEO or founder at the vendor. We'll conduct an interview, getting to know the vendor, the problems they solve, their use cases, how they work with AI and their target demographic, and we'll transcribe that into all the information you're seeing here. The second part, we give the vendor an opportunity to do a functional demo. On this functional demo, these are normally 15 to 20-minute videos. We will have somebody from our side asking questions how a buyer would. So the idea behind this is we're really giving you the opportunity to put yourself in the buyer seat, higher up in the funnel when you're still in that research stage and you haven't started reaching out and meeting with vendors yet. Now, I'm going to go back to the home page and show another way that you can navigate through the website. We've recently launched what we call Legaltech Hub Navigator. So if I click this button here, this will switch our search engine across to an AI-powered search engine. Now, I've asked this question earlier. So I've already loaded a question here. What are the differences in agentic AI and generative AI for legal professionals? So as you can see, this has given you an AI-generated answer. And down the bottom, it's got a summary. But also, I'd like to highlight that this will give you links to articles related to your question. And this isn't going out to the internet to find these. These are all articles and pieces of content from within the Legaltech Hub platform and ecosystem. Now, going back to our premium pillars, next we have know-how. So these are expert-led articles across 29 legal technology categories, including adoption, generative AI, and change management. But we've complemented these with in-depth analysis of market trends and industry news. So I'll show you a couple of examples quickly. First is the generative AI map. Now, you've probably seen this a lot. We notice this circulates a lot on LinkedIn, and we've even seen people using this in presentations. But the cool thing about the one that lives within our platform is this map is interactive. So if I click on any of these vendors, this will take you across to their vendor page on our site. Now, another one that I'll quickly highlight is a new topic that we've released a series on and we're hearing a lot of noise about. So in this piece, it explores why model context protocol isn't just a technical shift. It fundamentally changes where control, accountability, and risk sit in a composable legal AI stack. And these are just a couple of examples of topics within this category, and there's many more that you can spend hours viewing. So the third and final pillar I'll jump into quickly is lawyer resources. So these are educational pieces that are aimed at your lawyers and your attorneys. And how this works, we typically recommend that your knowledge management team maybe top and tail these and share them with your team. And this helps them stay up to date with changes, things that affect their day-to-day role, but also help them with conversations with clients. So one series that I'd like to highlight is our Simple Guide series. So we've got a 5-part series here on Simple Guide to Legal AI, starting with an introduction to the terminology, and we cover everything all the way down to hallucinations. I'll now bring your attention up here to our events. One minute. So we host our own series of Legaltech Hub events. We have 4 flagship innovation events per year running across London, New York, Sydney, and Toronto. On top of that, we also host some events targeted at in-house teams, as well as mid-law and as well as events targeted towards vendors. All information and registration details for these events can be found on our events page that I'm highlighting now. And then the last thing that I mentioned at the top of this call is our advisory services. So if I come here, we can sit down with you and the team and help you from an advisory standpoint from various topics that you're seeing on the screen, such as innovation and solution selection. But also we do offer this to vendors as well. So we can help with go-to-market or fundraising or whatever it is that you need help with. So that sums up the Legaltech Hub platform and everything we have in our offering. If you do want any more information, please feel free to reach out to me or one of the team, and we'll happily do a more in-depth demo with you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rory, for showing that. We are closing out at the top of we're at the top of our last hour here. What we're going to do is take a 5-minute break. We're going to let people take a little bio break. We'll be back on in 5 minutes, so at 12 or 4 minutes at 12:05, and we will kick it off with NetDocuments to start our last hour of this. So we'll see you back here in a few minutes. Thanks. Okay, everyone, welcome back. We are closing out Demo Dozen with our final hour of demos here. We'll invite our next speaker in just a moment, but for those of you who are just joining us, we want to remind you that we do have a Q&A function at the top. If you have questions for the speakers that are presenting, feel free to drop your questions in there as the presentation is going on so they can hopefully answer them during it or at the very end of their time. If they don't get to them, we will be forwarding your questions to the presenters and they will reach out to you afterwards. And so without further ado, let's go right along to NetDocuments. I would like to invite Stephen O'Neill to the screen.
Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. And thank you I'm just getting my screen started here. Let me get over to that. And can you see my screen okay?
Yes, looks good.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, good morning, good afternoon. We're excited to be here to share the really NetDocuments and how we're unlocking the expertise that you've got in your NetDocuments solution and your document management solution with the power of AI and automation tools that really can solve your problems today, but also for decades to come. We call this the intelligent DMS. So you're gonna see a number of things today. We're gonna be talking about our legal AI assistant, which helps you to get quick, accurate answers, even when you're trying to execute legal tasks and using our agentic tools. Also, we're going to be showing you some legal applications and no-code automation. This is really for enriching your data and using robust data extraction, as well as scaling your expertise around the firm, and some best practices around being able to incorporate that into repeatable automated processes. And then finally, we're going to be talking about AI search. And really what this is talking about is vectorizing your entire document management repository so that you can search based on context and meaning using natural language versus exact keywords. So, we've been focusing on bringing AI to your content versus having to moving outside of your NetDocuments repository or outside your DMS, so that we can really bring the AI to your NetDocuments repository. So, to that said, we're going to really kind of dive into the demonstration. So let me just pop over here. So let's start off where we see a lot of users performing or initiating their tasks, which is inside of Microsoft Outlook. Now, we're in this really kind of interesting phase right now because we've got half of our users still using an old version of Outlook, and we've got half of our users still using or starting to use the new Outlook 365. We support both. And so here we are, we're inside of the new version of Outlook where we're selecting an email where we have been asked to create a new services agreement for a new supplier. And you can see that the NetDocuments add-in inside of Outlook 365 here is giving us some predictions about where this email should be filed. So this is the first application of AI, and it's working right inside of Outlook, where the user now can go ahead and actually click and file this email with a prediction of saying, based on where other emails have been filed around the organization, this is a prediction of where other emails have been filed in this same matter. You'll notice that the email has now been classified as filed, and the beautiful thing about that is it's going to let you and other users know that this email has already been filed. Now, moving on to our task, one of the things that we're going to want to be able to do is we're going to want to be able to create that new contract. And first thing we would like to do is to confirm and see, do we have any other contracts that we've done like this before? So we want to search for some precedent. So I'm going to use the NetDocuments advanced search capability, and we're going to leverage the AI classification to look for service agreements. And you'll notice that when I selected service agreements, now it has given me a whole bunch of additional metadata fields that I could go and search by, for example, value or specific terms like notice of termination or assignment. So this allows me to really narrow this down. Now, what I'm going to do is just perform this search based on just service agreements, because I'd like to just see how many service agreements we've got in the system. And so here, what we're going to do is we're going to get our results back, and just go ahead and run that. And actually what I'm going to do is I'm just going to show you this a different way, where we're going to come over here and we're actually going to be able to see all of these transactional documents, all these contracts, and filter them by using facets. Now, in this case, we're going to select the AI document classification. We're going to select our service agreement category. And now what I'd like to do is narrow this down to agreements in New York. As well, I would like to focus on ones that have a very specific change of control, these that trigger the counterparty termination right. We're going to go ahead and select that. And now, across thousands of contracts that we have within the organization, we have narrowed this down to service contracts within a very specific jurisdiction with a very specific termination right within the change of control that we were looking for. So this is showing off something that we call AI classification or AI profiling. And you'll notice that when you look at any document in a document management system, there's certain metadata that you're expecting to see. Things like, the author, the version, the client, the matter. But you'll notice that the AI has gone through and added additional metadata, such as this is a service agreement, the legal topic, an AI-generated document summary, the governing law. This is giving us all additional information that we can now search, that we can filter, and that we can report on within the document repository. Now, one of the things that we might want to do at this point is actually take these 5 candidates that we've gotten and use the Ask AI feature to go in and ask some very specific questions. And so this is where I might just say, for example, to ask it to please extract the, there we go. Please extract the change of control provisions from all the uploaded agreements and draft a simplified composite clause. So what I've done is I've asked it to look at these 5 agreements and to actually run, to go through these, extract this specific clause, and to go ahead and pull this out. And you'll notice that it's adding the files in, and as it's doing that, it's sharing the documents, but it's sharing them in a very secure way. This is also taking into account data loss prevention rules. So if your clients have flagged certain content that cannot be accessed by NetDocuments or shouldn't be applied to AI, those DLP rules will prevent that content from being accessed. And so when we can now go ahead, after we've finalized adding our documents, we'll be able to go ahead and run this prompt, and the assistant will go ahead and start bringing back our results. So now we can go ahead and see it running, and it's going to go through this process of extracting these. And we'll come back to this. So this is just a quick preview of a couple things: AI profiling, adding additional metadata to your documents, making that information more searchable, filterable, and reportable across the entire firm, perfect for finding previous content that you may have worked on across the firm. Now, as we move on from there, one of the things that we may want to do is to actually perform a natural language search. So, for example, what if I was not only wanting to search, but actually do a very specific task with these agreements? Like, let's find one more examples of service agreements in New York, how they handle assignment restrictions, and then give me a detailed bullet point playbook for handling that situation on those examples. So now what we're doing is we're using the power of search technology, and this is actually what it's doing is it's spinning off multiple searches on the user's behalf, and then it's pulling that information back together and providing us a very specific answer. So it's going way beyond just identifying the documents that we're looking for. Let's take a look at the final result. So here we can see that it found 3 concrete examples of New York governed service agreements and how they handle assignment restrictions. You can see that it's pulled out some very specific details for us to review. As well, it's gone ahead and generated a playbook for us that now we can use in the creation of our brand new contract. Let's real quickly jump over to that contract. So here's our service agreement, and what we'd like to use now is the power of agentic AI inside of Microsoft Word to actually mark up this contract. So we've done our research, we've found relevant precedent, we've extracted the information that we need, possibly generated a playbook, and now what we would like to do is actually run the assistant to go in and make our changes to the document. So in this case, we'd like to change, in this case, the governing law, the change of control section, as well as the effective date. These are just a couple of simple examples. Let's go ahead and generate some suggestions from here. And what we'll see now is that it's generated our suggestions, making changes here to the governing law, adding a section, a change of control, as well as the effective date. These all look good. I could independently apply or ignore each one of these, but let's just go ahead and make all these changes and just have it track changes. So now you can see there's our first change. We can also scroll down and we can see there's our change to State of New York, adding our section of control, etc. So now we've got our finished document that we can go ahead and approve changes on or send on for review. So this has been a very quick overview of just applying AI from NetDocuments. I'll just quickly mention that we showed you a couple of very specific examples. We showed you AI profiling, which you see here on the screen, but there's a whole bunch of other applications that we have created to automate very specific tasks within the document management system. So you'll notice that there is a QR code here. You're welcome to take a picture of that. It'll take you to our web page that actually has all of our studio applications. This is a growing library of applications that we've been creating for clients based on feedback from really across industries. And last but not least, we don't want to miss out. As you can see, NetDocuments, what we've been showing you is that it activates your expertise within your NetDocuments environment. But it also unlocks interoperability with other AI solutions that you may be considering or that you may be using. And we saw a couple of those here earlier today, such as Harvey and Legora. So knowing also that there's some things that our platform is probably not ever going to do. For example, legal research. That's something where we would really defer to a partner for. So this is where the NetDocuments and the ND Connect ecosystem will make it simple, secure, and seamless to integrate with vetted third-party AI solutions and to interoperate with the NetDocuments platform. So there we go. Thank you very much for your time. If you have any further interest or you'd like to get another demonstration, we've included our email address here. And just real quickly, Michelle, did we have any questions for Q&A? And I'm just going to check the chat here real quickly and see if there were any questions. I am
not seeing any at the moment.
Okay.
But if we get any in, we will certainly pass those along to you. We do encourage people to use that function. And you will see in the chat here that some people have been sharing their contact information. And as you scroll up, you'll see some information about a couple upcoming LTH events that Rory mentioned in his pitch. So if you are just joining us, you can see what has been posted in the chat before you. But for actual questions to our presenters, we encourage the Q&A function so that they can hopefully address them in real time and we can catch them. But moving on, since we don't see anything currently, next up we will have Opus 2, and I would invite Kim Bookout to join us on screen.
Thank you so much, Stephanie. And thanks everybody for joining today. This is fun. It's great to see all this tech. And I love these rapid fire demos. And everyone's been so good about time. And I'm going to try to also be that good about time. So I'm going to go ahead and start sharing my screen. While I'm pulling that up, I just want to let people know, if you haven't heard of Opus 2, Opus 2 is a platform that's used by thousands of people all around the world to help them manage their cases, build a winning case strategy, and prepare for those big procedural moments. You'll see probably a lot of things in the project that I'm going to show you that are geared towards trial or hearing. Obviously, people use us throughout an entire litigation workflow. That said, I'm going to frame this demo around a very real scenario. So in my case, my teammate, Ariane, who's been working on a bunch of witness preparation files, has come down with the flu. And she's asked me to help her with one of the witnesses that she was working on. And the reason I highlight this specific use case is because it's really common, right? The whole point of having a collaborative cloud-based solution is that everybody can be working together. And so I really wanted to highlight a pain point that exemplifies that. So as you'll see along the top of my project, I have things like, a documents page where I can see all of the documents that have been added. I have my issues worksheet where I can see all of the factual and legal issues that have been identified in this case. I have a characters list where I can see who's who and what role they have. I have a chronology. I can do my deposition designations in here, notes and organizations. And the reason that I'm pointing all of this out is because I want you to walk away and say, wow, there's a lot here, and hopefully schedule a demo with us. But moving on, I'm going to go to tasks. And this is where I'm going to see not only what Ariane was working on, but what everybody in my project has been working on. So this gives me a very unified view of what's happening. So Ariane asked for my help. I can see right here, she was to complete the witness interview prep for Helen Chang. The first thing I'm going to do is click this card and I'm going to reassign this. Ariane is no longer assigned to this task. I'm going to take it for myself and it's no longer pending. It's going to be in progress because I'm going to work through that today. I'm going to save changes. You'll see it's gone from the pending category into the in progress category. And everybody who has access to this project has insights over the new ownership of the task. Now, Ariane did me a favor in that she already linked to some witness documents, which is great. So here are all the documents that she thinks I'm going to want to use for this witness prep. Still a lot of documents. It's a lot of reading. I'm not really familiar with this witness. And so like any good technology company and like everybody you've already heard from today, I'm going to use AI to give me a little bit of a head start. It's not going to do the job for me, but it's going to really help me get this task done. So the way I'm going to do that is by switching over to a focus view. And this is a really AI central view of all of the documents in my matter. So here I could just ask a question like, who is Helen Chang and why do I care about her? Or since I already have her documents tagged, what I can do is start building out an outline based on those documents. So I'm going to do just that. I'm going to add the documents and I'm going to filter for documents that were tagged for Helen Chang. And I'm going to go ahead and add these to my query box. So now this is giving the AI some context. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to paste in a simple prompt. If I wanted to develop a really excellent prompt, we have Prompt Builder, which will help me do that. But I think for today's purposes, this is going to get us there. So I just said I'm a lawyer preparing a witness for an interview on a breach of contract case. Suggest questions I might ask Helen Chang concerning the contract negotiations, delivery commitments, and breach of contract claim. So I'm going to post that in. The AI is going to work. And like all good presenters, I did run this earlier, but I would like to give this an opportunity to start returning results because I think it's nice to see how this comes together. So first, it's going to generate out all of the text and suggested questions. It's organized it pretty nicely. It's going to provide me links to those documents. I can see, you know, that generated like that exact excerpt from where that came from. I can also pop open this document and do some additional things with it, right? So I want to look at this. I'm not going to trust what did the presenter from Harvey said, you know, they always say trust but verify. You know, I think everybody who's dealing with AI would make that same recommendation. So here I'm reviewing this document and perhaps I have a question, right? So as I said, I'm kind of new to this data set, but I have worked on this case before. I actually was helping build the chronology. And so some of this, what I'm seeing here, actually conflicts with what I had discovered during my evidence review. And I want to show you how I can collaborate with other users inside the platform. So if I weren't using Opus 2 and I found this document, what would I do? I would attach it to an email and I'd send it to the more senior associate and I'd say, what's up with this? This doesn't seem to make sense to me. But because I'm using Opus 2 and it is a true collaboration platform, I can create a little note here. Think about this like a Post-it note. And I'm going to say, this conflicts with my understanding of the timeline. John, does this make sense? Just want to add, I want to get a sense check from John on this. Of course, I can't never type when I'm demoing. You can do things like issue tag your notes. So if you think about all of those Post-it notes that you put on documents, they're all going to get stored in the system. So you can issue tag them, you can link them to witnesses, chronology events. But really what I want to do is I just want to ping John and say, John, have a look at this. So I'm going to hit save. And as soon as I hit save, John is going to get an email. He will be able to respond to me, and I'll be able to see his response right here on the document. And everybody will be able to see that response, right? You can also secure this so that the conversation is just between me and John. But I'm kind of leaving it open for everyone because when Ariane gets back from having the flu, I want her to see kind of what my thought process was. So as I'm going through kind of reviewing this outline, I might want to make changes to it. So you can always copy this out, paste it into a Word document. We also have those standard AI boosters, I guess I would say. You can, rewrite, you can make shorter, make longer, more formal, less formal, add bullet points, make this into a table. You can translate this if you need to. But essentially, I'm just going to copy it out, put it into a Word document, and then continue editing. I'm going to be reviewing all of these documents. I want to see all of my sources. I want to make sure that what I'm actually going to be asking this witness makes sense. And I'm also going to be making my annotations on those documents as well. So I'm going to actually pop back over into my detailed view. And this is where I have all of my project information. And I'm going to go to this task. And although you saw me complete this task in 5 minutes, that is not going to be true. I don't expect such miraculous results for when you're really doing witness prep, but I hope I've given you the idea of how you can really boost some of those workflows and use technology to do that. So I'm pretty much done with this task. So I can go in and I can tag it as completed. So I can go ahead and save my changes. The person who assigned that task originally is also going to get a notification saying, hey, that task has been completed, which is great. So I don't have to send an email and let them know that it was done. But before I do that, I want to have like one neat and tidy place where all of this work product lives. So Ariane already did me the favor of linking to all of Helen Chang's documents. I'm going to do her the favor of linking to that outline. So I'm going to go ahead and upload this. You can imagine for illustrative purposes, I've already downloaded this, but what I'm going to do is just drag and drop that outline into the system. I'm also going to just make sure it goes into the right folder here. This is going to go into my witness interviews folder and then upload. I'm going to save my changes. And so now you'll see that anybody who goes in to look at this task is going to be able to see the complete progression, that I picked it up, that I worked on it, I reviewed documents. Here are the documents I reviewed. And let me just give this a little refresh. It might take a second for that file to upload. But here is the outline that I generated that's finalized. I'm going to just take a look. I'm hoping that people are putting questions into the chat. So I'm just going to pop it open and see if there's nothing yet. But just so you know, I am keeping an eye on it. So if you have any questions, feel free to pop them in. So
actually, Kim, if you go in the Q&A, there are a couple questions right now in the Q&A widget, not the regular chat.
I see the Q&A widget, but I don't see the questions. Hold on, let me just exit out and open it up again.
We will make sure you see them then.
Oh, wait a minute. I do see one. Okay. Will that conversation with John stay tied to the document? That's exactly right. So as we're chatting back and forth about documents and adding all of those notes, those live with the document. Not only do they live with the document, but they're going to be stored over here in notes. So I can see what were all the notes I ever made, or what are all the notes that I made about failure to mitigate. And I consider this my gigantic Rolodex of notes where I can kind of go in and see every note that was ever created. It'll take me directly to that passage, so I'm not having to thumb through hundreds of pages. And then one other question, do users get notified when tasks are reassigned? Yes. If you are either the assignor, the assignee, or the person who's picking up the task, you will automatically get notifications. If you're just passively watching the tasks, you won't necessarily be notified, but it will be visible on the screen. Okay. Now, the last thing that I want to mention is that I've done a lot of great progress in 5 minutes on this witness prep, but one thing that we haven't been able to do yet is actually share those documents with the witness. Again, if I wasn't using Opus 2, what would I be doing when I was in firm? I'd be downloading those documents. I'd be uploading them to an FTP. My witness would be downloading them to their machine. And now, before you know it, you have 3 copies of what is potentially confidential client information kind of scattered about. So instead, what we have is a client portal. So this could be a portal that could be configured for any number of reasons. But what I've configured is a portal that I can share with clients. Now, not everybody is going to see all of these cards. I can secure them so that the witnesses, all they see is witness portal when they log in. They go to witness portal. Remember, our witness is Helen Chang. So Helen is just going to see her document. She's not going to see Bill or Alexis's document. She's only going to see hers. And she'll have an opportunity to go in and review these documents in advance of the interview. I've even done some things because some of our witnesses have never sat for a deposition or have never been interviewed before in this manner. So I wanted to provide them some guidance. So I gave them a little witness guidance form about kind of what to expect. So that way they're not going to be surprised. We can talk about this during their preparation session and make sure everybody is on the same page. Okay, well, I think that was all I was planning to share. If there's any, I think everybody's going ahead of schedule.
But you have one more question that just popped into the Q&A if you want to reopen that.
Okay. Why am I not seeing it? Let me close it and open it again.
If you can't see it.
Oh, how do you control what external parties can see on the portal? So essentially, the way we do this is via access control. So what I would do for this witness prep is I would, from my documents page, I would manage this by just saying who has access to this folder. Well, Alexis should have access, but nobody else should. And that's the way that I configure this so that when we're at this nice looking portal, people only see what they're allowed to and permitted to see.
Perfect.
Well, I want to thank everybody so much. And I also want to share a QR code. So what I've given you is an example of one discrete workflow. We support hundreds of workflows, as you can imagine. So if you'd like to scan the QR code, you can schedule a custom demo. And additionally, we will be at Legal Week this year. Many of you will be. So if you want to meet with us at Legal Week, just drop a comment in the demo request for Legal Week. We'll meet with you. We'll save some good swag for you. And again, thank you so much, Stephanie, for everybody's attention today.
Thank you, Kim. That was great. And thank you all for engaging in the Q&A. We appreciate that as well. Next up, we have Clio, and I will invite Damian Reel to the screen.
Hey, Stephanie. Thanks, everybody, for having us on. These are very exciting times with AI. I'm a builder that also talks about stuff that we build, and we are currently building like crazy. I'm vibe coding over here, I'm presenting here, and I'm testing over here. So these are really extraordinary times. So thank you for having us on. These are everything a lawyer does is a workflow, and all of those workflows are in Vincent. So within Vincent, you could be able to ask a research question. I could upload a contract and get 200 pages of analysis, no prompting necessary. I could also be able to upload a complaint and get 200 pages of analysis, again, no prompting necessary. Survey, including the United Kingdom and the European Union in about 5 minutes. So I don't have time to go through all of them, but let's walk through some of them, including research questions. If I wanted to ask ChatGPT, what's the trade secret law regarding former employees stealing customer lists? That's a bad idea. Just ask Steve Schwartz why it's a bad idea. But if we were to ask the same question of Vincent, you could be able to say this, and I could be able to select actual non-hallucinated California cases, statutes, and regulations. And you can see that this is not a prompt. This is a question like you'd ask an associate. And then Vincent will immediately improve that question. And I'll say, yes, I want to improve it. Or maybe I want to be able to edit it. And what it's doing now is it's searching actual non-hallucinated California cases, statutes, and regulations. You can see it's already found 27 of those. And then it's done a 5-stage review on already 14 of those. That 5-stage review does something even better than any human would do. So I litigated for about 15 years. And so what you see here here is actual non-hallucinated text from actual non-hallucinated cases. And this text in these cases will be non-hallucinated 100% of the time. Not 90, not 95, not 99, but 100% of the time this text will be not hallucinated. And you might say, well, how can you say 100%, not 99%? And I can say 100% because this text was not created by a large language model. This text was a database search, like we've been doing database searches for 40 years. So 100% of the time, this text will be non-hallucinated, and 100% of the time, this case will be non-hallucinated. So this gives you trust but verify right here on the same page. So now we give you non-hallucinated text that answers this question. And then stage 2, we say, okay, now take this text and say how well or how poorly it answers my question. And here's how well courtesy answers the question. Here's how well more life answers the question. So we give you direct answers for every single case, statute, and regulation, and rules and regulation, and secondary materials. That's stage 2. Stage 3 then is we say, okay, here is a confidence score from 0 to 100. Courtesy almost totally answers the question, whereas this more life case answers it a bit less. So you'll see confidence scores of 100, 90, 80, 70. But if it's below 70, we throw it away. So here, all you see here are cases that are above that 75% threshold. That's stage 2. Stage 4 is now I could say, well, if Reeves answers the question, maybe cases that Reeves cites might also answer the question. So we go into Reeves. And with VLEX, you actually have, and now Clio, you actually have the full text of Reeves. And because we've done the hard work of being able to look and be able to say, here are all the cases that Reeves cites, we do that same stage 1, stage 2, stage 3 process on all 15 of these cases. And if any of the 15 are above that 70% threshold, we add that to the list. We call this going down the tree. We also go up the tree because a lot of cases had cite Reeves. So Redfern just cited Reeves. This Popscu, right? So we do that same stage 1, stage 2, stage 3 process on all 281 cases that cite Reeves. And if any of the 281 are above that 70% threshold, we add that to the list too. We call this going up the tree. I present at a lot of conferences, and you'll see a lot of people say, I don't know when ChatGPT is going to reach human levels of analysis. I litigated for 15 years. I know 0 humans when they find a case like Reeves. I know 0 humans that are going to read through all 15 cases that Reeves cites. And I know 0 humans that are going to read through all 281 cases that cite Reeves. Vincent does both those things in a minute and a half. And it does it not just for Reeves, but also does it for White, also does it for Balboa. We go down the tree and up the tree for all 28 of these cases. So we read through hundreds of cases and land on the 28 that are above that 70% threshold. How long would it take a human to do that? A lot longer than the minute and a half it took to do it here. That's stage 4. Then stage 5 is to take all 40 of these cases, statutes, regulations, and rules and turn them into a memo. And this memo reflects what I told my associates at Robbins Kaplan. I would say, don't make me wait to the bottom to give me the answer. Give me the answer right up top. And so Vincent gives you the 1-paragraph answer right up top. And then we say, give a 2-paragraph summary, which it does here. Dig into the most relevant legislation, most relevant cases, answers the question, most relevant secondary materials. And then do a full-on analysis of when customer lists are trade secrets. And each of these in blue are non-hallucinated cases that you can validate on the right-hand side. When was it misappropriated? Give me limits. Give me the remedies. What are procedural? What are defenses? This is now a many-page document that I could be able to save it to my collection of all the cases that I'm working on now. So that could be part of my corpus. I can download it as a Word document or download it, copy and paste it into an email. This is a 60-page document done in about 5 minutes. So this is less than 5 minutes, actually about 3 minutes. This is a research question. Well, let's go on to the next. What if I want to be able to explore a legal proposition, either supporting my proposition or opposing the other side's arguments? That is now here. This is about 70 pages of analysis of oppositions to the other side's arguments. What if I want to take my facts? These are my facts. I represent Sarah Johnson, and she met her former employer, and that jerk, Michael, put his smartphone on the table and started recording. My goals are to show that Michael's recording of Sarah's conversation violated privacy laws. So here are my facts. And now Vincent looks through all the cases, statutes, and regulations and turns that into a memo that is argumentative, saying of the facts, here are the most relevant facts. Here are the most relevant statutes, both federal statutes, state statutes, and state causes of action. Then I could be able to say, what is the application of the law to the facts, which is what every legal analysis is. Because the defendant recorded the conversation without plaintiff's consent, under this federal statute, Michael probably violated privacy laws. That was an errant click there. And then we go through and be able to say, okay, here are the most relevant statutes. Here are the facts to law. Then plaintiff Sarah had a reasonable expectation of privacy. Here are the most relevant submissions under each of the statutes, arguments in the alternative, and areas of risk. This is argumentative in a way that you can push into a brief, pleading, or motion by simply copying this and pasting it into your brief, pleading, or motion. What if you want to do a full 50-state survey in about 5 minutes? What if you want to know about right-to-work laws and how they affect union membership and dues? Vincent's smart enough to break that into 2 questions. Yes, right-to-work laws, and yes, union membership and dues. And here's the answer in Alabama, Alaska, Arizona, Arkansas. So now here I can slide down all the way to, say, Texas, and be able to give Texas's 1-paragraph answer on right to work, and Texas's cases, statutes, and regs, and Texas's full answer here, along with all of the exceptions and limitations. So now that we have this 50-state survey, we do something that we think nobody else does, where we put all of that into a nice table. Alabama, Alaska, Arizona, is it a right to work state? Is there a constitutional provision? Statutes. So now I can download this as an Excel spreadsheet or a CSV file. So for our law firms that do 50-state surveys in flat fee, they say this is amazing because we can shrink our cost and increase our profit margins for 50-state surveys. Of course, our in-house counsel say, wait, why would I even hire a law firm to do this? Why wouldn't I just do this in-house and be able to have somebody validate it? That is a 50-state survey. What if you want to do a multi-country survey? That is, what if you want to know about the privacy laws related to online ads and know the answer in the UK, US, and the United Kingdom, and Ireland, France, Spain, Portugal, Italy, the European Union writ large, Mexico, Brazil, Colombia, Chile, Hong Kong, Singapore, New Zealand. We just keep adding more and more of these. And so rather than a 50-state survey, now here's a multi-country survey where I've asked an English question and we've run it across Spanish text and then round-tripped it back into English. And it's done this because I've set my language to English. I could have just as well set my native tongue to Spanish or Portuguese or French. So now I can have this multi-country survey. And not only do I get the answers for Portugal, Italy, European Union, etc., but also here is now a nice table like I had for the 50-state survey, saying here's the law in Ireland, France, Spain, here is the GDPR, and here's the implementation of GDPR, and whether you get user consent. By the way, each of these columns here is done on the fly because we instruct Vincent to be able to say, look through each of these 50 memoranda and find the particular columns that would be helpful to the end user. And again, everywhere you see this, you could be able to download it. To be able to do this magic that I've just showed you, you have to have the data. And only 3 companies in the world have comprehensive cases, statutes, and regulations in the United States. Those 3 companies are Thomson Reuters, LexisNexis, and us. And so you might think, well, Casetext, where did they get their data? And the answer is from these guys. We would give Jake and Pablo our cases, statutes, and regulations every day. So now but you have to wonder, Jake and Pablo didn't have data from Spain, Italy, France, or the European Union. Jake and Pablo also didn't have data from Ecuador, Brazil, Argentina, or Mexico. Also didn't have data from the United Kingdom. Also didn't have data from the tax havens of Jamaica, Cayman Islands, or the banking powerhouses of Hong Kong or Malaysia. So when you think about our competitors, do they have this data in all these countries? And if their provider that they're working with to be able to send them the data gives them a bad answer, that is, doesn't give them the right case that might be referenced if they miss that, what is that other provider that is merely a wrapper going to do with that bad result if they miss the cases, the statutes, and the regulations? Only 3 companies in the world have this data, and only 1 company has it comprehensively worldwide. What if you want to be able to say, I want to take a complaint, and Vincent says that if you're doing this work, you don't have to be a prompt engineer. You simply upload this PDF. Vincent recognizes, oh, that's a complaint against unauthorized copyright of content. And Vincent gives you these buttons, no prompting necessary. And these buttons reflect what litigators do every single day. What I did as a litigator, every single complaint. I would say, what are the claims being alleged? What are the facts supporting those claims? Who are the parties? What are they looking for? Are they looking for money or an injunction? Each of those is an extractive task, and we do this no prompting necessary. But then we go beyond extraction to ideation. What legal defenses, based on actual non-hallucinated cases, statutes, and regs, should I mount? What questions should I ask my client to help them win? This extractive is an ideation that is the work of the lawyer. And then we do something that goes beyond just extraction. We go to legal research that is customized to this complaint. Vincent says, well, I know that's a copyright case, so I want to know about damages. Give me about fair use and being able to know transformative use in copyright cases. Now it gives me a really nice memo talking about transformative use in copyright cases. No prompting necessary, along with cases, exceptions, and limitations. It also goes through and is able to analyze all of the claims, all 7 of them, and then does an analysis of each of those claims, all 7 of those claims. Then it also goes through and says who did what when. You can create timelines of who did what when. It did it here for 1 document. It could have just well done for 100 or 1,000 or 10,000 documents of who did what when. And then we say, what are good defenses for each of these claims? Well, for copyright, maybe you want to argue fair use. This is what fair use is, and that the use of New York Times content by OpenAI was to train the model, and that's fundamentally different than the original publication. Here are now many defenses that would give you no prompting necessary. Then beyond defenses, we'd be able to say, okay, what questions should you ask your client to help them win? Hey, OpenAI, what was the training data that you got? Did you get permission from the New York Times? These are all really good questions, no prompting necessary. I could keep going, but this is about 200 pages of analysis, no prompting necessary. And so, of course, this is really good for our law firms. Our plaintiffs' lawyers love this. Defense lawyers aren't quite sure. But of course, the in-house counsel that we sell to, like Salesforce, love this. They say this is amazing. And so really, you have to think about your clients might be using this today. Contract. What if I want to be able to do the same thing for a merger agreement between Microsoft and LinkedIn? We give you different buttons. Again, no prompting necessary. And these are things contract lawyers care about. Give me definitions, overlapping clauses, language, risk mitigation. And then we give you legal research questions that are customized to this particular merger agreement. So it says, hey, this is a Microsoft LinkedIn merger, so maybe you want to know about antitrust implications. Maybe you want to know about LinkedIn's fiduciary duties. Now here's the antitrust implications in Microsoft merger. Again, we have the data in a way that nobody else does. What if you want to be able to do red lines of this version of the contract versus another? What if you want to upload a deposition of a random deponent and be able to pull in things that are particular things that you can put into a brief pleading or motion? He claimed to be a real estate expert. Here's the question. Here's a response. Everywhere you see a link, you could be able to see the particular portion of that deposition where it pulled in. So you're able to click and be able to see the exact trust but verify. What if you want to say the average case length for civil rights cases that settle in the Central District of California? We have 975 million dockets and documents where I can go to that particular case. That's a civil rights case. That's a Central District case. And you'll know the file date and the terminated date. And because we've done that for 25 different cases, we could say for 25 cases, the average time is 12 days. What if you want to know David Boyes' experience in the Southern District? What if you want to know about Quinn Emanuel's experience in the Central District? What do you want to know about this litigation involving this party? What if you want to know about this judge and the experience in this area of law? What if you want to be able to upload a transcript and be able to get an analysis of that transcript? And what if you want to be able to upload an MP3 and be able to then find an excerpt from this and then be able to reason with that MP3? This is multimodal. Everything that we're doing, and I'm at the end of my time, everything that we're doing is a workflow. And by the way, this is a Vincent tables where I could be able to upload a bunch of documents. Vincent gives you these columns, and then you can edit the columns to be able to see what type of outputs you want. We just keep cranking out these workflows. Man, we are vibe coding left and right, and we are really pushing things out in a way that nobody else can. And nobody else can because who has the data? Who has yesterday's case, yesterday's statute, and yesterday's regulation? And for those 3 that do, who is moving faster than anyone else? And I would ask you to be able to ask any of my competitors, what can they do with a bad result from their third-party provider of those cases, statutes, and regulations? With that, Stephanie, thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. Right on time. I can tell you had your own timer.
I was a litigator. I needed the red light from the appellate court.
I know. Well, I'm your red light. Thank you for that, Damien. And to bring us home now, we have one final presenter. We're going to be hearing from Orbital, and I would like to welcome Mike McKenzie to the screen. I can see your screen, Mike, but if you're talking, we cannot hear you. Having a little microphone trouble, folks. We will just give it a minute, and we will hopefully get Mike on here so we can hear him.
Sorry, can you hear me now?
Yeah, perfect.
Okay, great. Sorry.
No worries, no worries.
Well, pleasure to meet you all. Thank you very much for your patience. My name is Mike McKenzie. I'm a senior account executive here at Orbital. So what is Orbital Copilot? Orbital Copilot is the first real estate specific AI tool on the market built by real estate attorneys for real estate attorneys. And we see real estate as being this opaque, ubiquitous asset class that is traditionally extremely slow to transact. And our goal is to help accelerate due diligence and closings within real estate. So what I'm going to be showing you today is a tool that increases attorneys' efficiency, capacity, and profitability across their deals. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you through our kind of homepage. I'm going to orientate you around the platform, how it works, but I'd like you to imagine yourself as a real estate attorney. And traditionally, real estate attorneys will see heavy document sets. They will see documents that look like they've been written in the 1800s, and they will have to, take out the magnifying glass and figure out what the heck they're even reading. They often transact on large properties, complex properties. So put yourself in those shoes. Now, just to kind of orientate you around the platform, the homepage here covers projects, quick start functionality, and Ask Copilot. Now, projects, think of these as matters, where you can set up a matter, you can add team members, a paralegal, an associate, and a partner can collaborate on these deals because, we know that communication is so key throughout due diligence right through to closing. Quick start functionality allows you to do things like review title and survey. Title and survey is one of the most complex, time-consuming pieces of due diligence that an attorney can do. Orbital can automate and accelerate that process, really increasing efficiency, especially in the due diligence piece of the deal. We can also run reports. So if I click into report here, we have very specific reports that have been built by real estate attorneys for real estate attorneys. And the lawyers can essentially take these reports covering leasing, covering title, covering finance, and covering things like phase one environmentals, PSAs, property management abstract. They can take these reports and they can customize them. So what that means is they'll upload their documents, they'll create an abstract, but every client looks for specific provisions, etc., within a deal. So we can customize every single report that I'm showing you just now. Just jumping back to the homepage, we can also do things like compare documents. This is where we compare like an LOI and a lease, or two clean leases, or two PSAs, for example. We can restore documents and we can use what we call the property visualizer. So let's put ourselves in the shoes of a real estate attorney. We get a title commitment across our desk. Okay, the first thing we get are these pack of documents, and we see something like this, and we're shocked, we're scared. We don't know what it means. We don't know. It's going to take us a heck of a lot of time to read through it. Now, Orbital has built in its own proprietary OCR technology that allows real estate attorneys to digitize these documents. So I'm going to click digital here, and you'll see within seconds, Orbital has been able to read that document, consume that document, and create an output that is consumable for the attorneys to read. And it doesn't take them maybe half an hour to kind of read through. So that's step one. Step two is we want to know, okay, well, I've read this document, I've read this handwritten deed, I get it, I understand it now, but I want to know where this property is. And traditionally, what attorneys are doing is they're using tools like, Microsoft
they're using Google Maps, they're using a pen and paper to sketch out legal descriptions, but they want to figure out where is this property. So this property visualizer here allows attorneys to search for places or parcels. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to search for a particular place just now. North 85th, Scottsdale, Arizona. So, okay, now I know that this is the property that's being transacted. Okay, well, the first thing I want to know is, right, well, I'm probably not going to build a daycare center here because there's a freeway right across the road. But I want to understand, okay, well, I want to see the tax parcel information. I want to see of the adjacent parcel. So what I'm going to do is on the left-hand side, toggle on tax parcels. And now what I'm able to do is surface key information about the property that I'm transacting or the adjacent parcel and click into that property and surface owner information, general information, the value of that property, the land value, the improvement value, zoning information. And again, this is all, available data. I can go into a local county site, but it takes a heck of a lot of time. So Orbital really, just from this orientation piece, when we're kicking off a transaction, allows attorneys to really speed up this initial due diligence. And if you work with developers, etc., even just seeing whether a plot of land is viable, as I said, you're not going to build a daycare center next to an oil refinery. Having these kind of tools is essential for attorneys and their clients. So the second part of this is we figured out, okay, where the property is. We want to now run title and survey. So what I've done here for context is I've uploaded title commitment, I've uploaded a PSA and a survey. And what Orbital is able to do is to provide a comprehensive title and survey checklist review, as you're seeing here on the left-hand side. And what Orbital does as well is because it's built by real estate attorneys, it understands context, but it ensures that the attorneys are still validating, are still providing enough information for the AI to create an accurate output. So here, what kind of property is involved? What kind of transaction is it? And whom are we representing? Here I've put in vacant land purchase and purchaser. And then what Orbital will do is provide a comprehensive title and survey review checklist, which we can go ahead and we can review. And what we can do is line by line, review the output of the AI and use these citations. I've heard a lot about validation today, which I love, and I think it's 100% correct. But we can use these citations to validate the answers of the AI. And at any point, if we want to make a change, we can leave comments for the team. So I could leave a comment for my senior partner to say, hey, Carol, please check X, Y, and Z. And it allows the team to collaborate on these checklists, but again, all of which has been drafted by the AI. This will do a comprehensive exception review, survey review, etc. And by the way, this edit functionality that you're seeing, this line-by-line breakdown is available for every single report that we have covering leases, finance, and more. So I'm just going to jump back to the feeds. So once we've then kind of gone through our review of our title and survey checklist, Orbital is then able to draft us documents. So it's not just abstracting, it's not just reviewing, it's drafting as well, which I really love. And I think for any attorney that's ever had to do a title and survey review, part of the pain is then creating these follow-ups, such as an issues list, an objection letter, and a memo. And what's really important with this is that every single firm operates differently. You all have your standard forms, you all have your standard templates. So Orbital allows you to input those templates. And you'll see here change style that I'm using just now. You can upload your own template, whether it be a closing checklist, an objection letter, whatever it might be, and then ask the AI to then create that output. So here's an output, for example, of an issues list, which is a high-level issues list of the title. Again, this covers things like the title commitment investing deed, all the exception reviews as well. And by using these citations, I can do my side-by-side analysis and verification of the output. Now, as I'm doing my title and survey review, often what you'll find is that legal descriptions are complex. They're often wrong. They're often, very tricky to read and then manually sketch, which honestly is what a lot of paralegals and associates are doing these days. So the second use case of the property visualizer that I showed you earlier is legal description plotting. And this is where I think the property visualizer really adds value to attorneys. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you what that looks like just now, and hopefully everybody can still see my screen there. But what you're looking at right now is a property that's being transacted. You're looking at legal descriptions, all these blue lines, these red lines, these orange lines, etc. These are all legal descriptions that have been automatically plotted by the tool.
So what it does is it reads all the meets and bounds of the legal descriptions in the exception documents and the title commitment, and it automatically plots them for the attorneys. Now, this is extremely useful if you're looking at a wide storm sewer easement, let's say, that runs across a property. You want to identify that to your client. You want to make sure, whoa, there's a big red flag here that we didn't know about. And you might be waiting weeks for a survey. So you can see right now, I don't even have a survey. But what I do have is a bunch of legal descriptions that have been automatically plotted. So here's a temporary construction easement right here that you're looking at. On the left-hand side, we can see the entire legal description here. Okay, we can see the styling options, etc. And we can see all the calls. And all of this has been extracted from the documents that I've uploaded. Then what I'm able to do on the right-hand side is I'm able to download a snapshot, and I can send this on to a client, or I can send this on to my partner. So again, if we're thinking about a paralegal or an associate that is kind of manually sketching out these easements, that are looking at these kind of legal descriptions, often, you know, they're screenshots of Google Maps with kind of, you know, handwritten explanations of an easement, etc. This allows the attorneys to create kind of an annotation that can be shared, that is consumable, and again is client ready. The final piece that I wanted to show, just like out with the kind of property visualizer, would be our drafting again. So we have recently just released drafting across the tool, covering things like closing checklists that you're looking at right now, covering things like critical dates lists within kind of PSAs, leases, etc. And we have also just released drafting of new documents. So here you're seeing a PSA agreement. For context, what I've done is I've uploaded a test LOI here, and I've uploaded a blank form, and then the AI has then given us its initial draft, and I can then go in and accept or reject changes and make all the relevant changes I need to this document. I also have version history within drafting, etc. So to summarize, I've done a whistle-stop tour of a kind of transaction there. But to summarize, Orbital really is built by real estate attorneys, and that's our sole focus. So we have a strong belief system at Orbital. As real estate attorneys, you know, you're specialists in your field. So why use anything less than specialized technology? I know that we're coming up to time here, so I want to thank everybody for their patience, and I just want to open up the room to any questions. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to share over here this QR code if anybody would like to book a demonstration with us. Just opening up the Q&A. No questions.
Doesn't look like it, but if we do get any in, we will. Oh, yes. There is one in there now. You just got one in there. If you can see it, I can also just read it to you. Are the documents uploaded used to train the system?
Great question. So none of the documents that are uploaded are used to train our system whatsoever. Your privacy is key, and our data governance is of the highest standard.
Perfect. Well, thank you for closing us out today for a great demo dozen. And thank you everyone who joined us. Thank you to all our amazing presenters. We will be doing this quarterly. This one went well. We would love to see you again. Our next one will be on May 19th. You'll be seeing information about signing up for that. The timing may change for, you know, to account for different geographies. I know this was either early or late for some of you, but we tried to do our best to reach the global market. And again, if you have questions for any of our presenters, or if you want to learn more about the next demo dozen, you can email chris@legaltechnologyhub.com, and Claudia will drop that in the chat for you. And yeah, we would love to see you in the future. We will also be at Legal Week. We will have a booth 341, if you want to stop by. But we also have a ton of events coming up in tons of cities that might be near you. So if you live in New York, London, Boston, DC, Sydney, Toronto, or will be attending ILTSACON or Legal Week, we will have events at those places. So don't be a stranger. Come say hi. And we really hope to see you on May 19th for our next demo dozen. Thank you again, everyone, for joining.